Start now. I don't really know what to do for intro, but it's fine.
You gotta have an intro, bro. You gotta have
Yeah, it'll develop. They'll see the progression
as the podcast go on.
It's the meta journey of me figuring out my fucking intro. Yeah. Okay. Well, first I want to thank Rahul and Yue for joining Journeys with Kai. It's the first podcast ever for me, at least.
Same. I've never been on a podcast before.
Yue?
Not the watching one, but first time being in one.
I'm glad we're going through this experience together. I wouldn't have chosen anyone else. So yeah, like I said, this is Journeys with Kai. We're basically talking to young professionals, young academics, just young people in general, that I know, that I like really respect, and I like what they're doing, and I just like them as people in general. So obviously I want them on my podcast. And basically we explore sort of their journey, their upbringing, what led them to the point where they are now. And in this first one, we have Rahul Chowdhury. Did I say that right? Is there extra syllable?
Enough. Yeah.
How would you say it?
Chowdhury. I mean, it's
Chowdhury. Okay. That sounded like what I said.
Yeah.
That's fine. And Yue and Rahul. So Rahul Chowdhury, you're class of 2019? Right?
Yeah, I graduated like a year ago.
Okay, nice. From?
The City College of New York.
Okay, nice. And you're from New York too? Right?
Yeah.
Brooklyn?
Queens.
Yeah,
Brooklyn's like the cool one.
Oh, okay.
I wish I was from Brooklyn.
My roommate was actually from Queens.
Yeah.
I don't know where. But he had a degree in physics.
Yep.
And now he's working in finance, but like as a quant.
Yeah.
It's not trader, right?
It's in like I work on an algorithmic trading platform where like we connect users to we let users build their own algorithmic trading strategies, and we let them test their strategies and ultimately sell them to like banks and stuff.
Okay, so users would be contractors that would like sell it to banks?
Anybody. It's actually open source. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like if you're like a mappy person that has like any random idea about the markets, you can like, maybe like if this goes up, the other thing will go up. You can put that down in an algorithm and then test that idea. And if it works well, you can like live trade it.
So your platform lets people build the algorithm and test it,
and also like sell it. Like we also have like a marketplace.
Oh, whoa, that sounds really cool actually.
Yeah.
Is it like a startup or how?
It's been around for like 10 years,
Whoa.
But it's still like a startup vibe. There's like 15 employees. The CEO is like still like really like actively, right? And he's like super dedicated. He's like crazy guy. He's like so focused on this company. It's insane. He's probably works like 60, 70 hours a week on this.
Damn. That's dope. Okay, I didn't know all that about your company.
Yeah. Rahul, do you do like software development?
I taught myself how to code, so I don't really know like the software engineering that well. I know how to code, but I don't know the software engineering, all the intricacies of it, like all the continuous integration, using Git well and design principles. But so most of the work I do is just developing like strategies for our users so they can use like, this is like, I make example strategies for people to use as templates. But there are engineers that in my team
that do actual development stuff.
Yeah, development stuff. Yeah.
But the objective of your company is not to the main objective is not to build like really, really good algorithms, or is that also part of it?
Yeah, the objective isn't to build really good algorithms because like we're just enabling people to make really good algorithms. Because if we were trying to make really good algorithms, we'd be basically a hedge fund because we're trying to like profit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're also like in between jobs or looking for another job, right?
Yeah, I'm like looking for another job. Like I still want to stay in finance, but I'm like trying to like get more experience in other places, and particularly like go back to the East Coast. I like kind of want to be back there.
Oh yeah, just an update. We're both in Seattle, Rahul and I.
Yeah.
And then Yue is over in Pittsburgh.
Like literally across the country.
Yeah. And so Yue, we met in sophomore year, I think, of high school. We both went to school in Colorado Springs.
Freshman year or sophomore year? I don't remember now. I think it was...
Because sophomore year we had an English class together. That's where we really got close. I don't know if
Yeah.
with
You guys go way back. It's like a decade, almost.
yeah, it's almost a decade now. It'd be like 2011-ish. Crazy.
Yeah, it's been
Right.
a while.
And then we split off in college. He went to Carnegie Mellon to do CS. You were declared CS from the beginning, right? Or you went to the CS school or whatever? I don't know how it's set up there.
School of Computer Science.
Okay, gotcha.
Isn't Carnegie Mellon like the top school for CS? Like one of the top ones. Like it's known for CS, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty good place. Yeah, it's top in the US.
Yeah.
Top for the US.
Was it like mostly then CS people that like most of the students there, are they like CS majors or is it like diverse?
I mean, like any other college, it has other majors, but it's pretty like it has the CS department is really big. I think it's one of the biggest in the country, if not the biggest.
By the way, can I curse?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Oh shit. That's pretty cool.
And also ECE as well. Like a lot of people do ECE at CMU.
Electrical and computer engineering.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, other than that, it's pretty standard. I don't really know the rankings or how good it is for other STEM subjects, but it also has a really good art school, I think. I really don't know anything about that. I think 10 or 20 people get in per year for the art school. So
Shit, small. Damn.
Oh shit.
Well, yeah, there's like Carnegie Hall, right? Isn't that part of Carnegie Mellon or no? Like a really popular like venue for music or whatnot. Maybe not. It's probably just
Hold up,
funded
that's
by Carnegie.
yeah, like
That's
Carnegie
different?
dude, yeah, like
Okay.
yeah, Carnegie Hall I think is in New York somewhere.
Oh, okay, yeah, it might be.
But that Carnegie
Never
guy
mind.
sure is like
Oh yeah, he's
everywhere.
rich as fuck. Andrew Carnegie, right?
Yeah,
Railroads or something. Anyways.
dude's like
I think it was
dead
Steel.
100 years ago, but still like everywhere.
Oh, is it steel? That makes.
Oh yeah, Steel.
I
Yeah,
feel like that's right.
yeah. I think I like heard that in some documentary when I watched when I was like 6 or something.
Jesus, it's quite a memory you have there. Cool. And then UA's class of 2018, right? Or did you sneak in 2017?
Technically, like I graduated December of 2017,
Nice.
but I mean, basically 2018.
Right. Just like a semester early, right?
Yeah.
Wait, so did you go straight to grad school after, or did you have to wait like a little bit, like 6
Yeah,
months?
I kind of had to wait like 8 months basically, because I didn't register classes for a semester, so that was like kind of a gap.
Just like a chill time, basically. You know where you're going like afterwards, and you just have like kind of some free time.
Yeah, basically, I guess. It was nice.
And I think
yeah, the original plan was to graduate like 1 year early. I think in the end I decided to like take some more classes. I think I didn't finish my like one of my humanities requirements. So I had to do that. But also it was good to like also take some other like courses I was interested in. So yeah.
And they really held you. They really like kept you there for like a little bit longer. Same thing happened to me actually. I was like, so like the last semester I had, I wasn't very good at keeping like track of all the courses I had to finish.
Yeah.
So like at the last semester, I go to my advisor after like 3 years. I hadn't seen him since freshman year. And I'm like, hey, am I on track? And he's like, yo, you have to finish these 6 extra courses. And I freaked out, but I somehow just took it all in the winter and all in this and just crammed it into the spring and somehow made it work. It was it was intense.
At CMU, they make you meet your advisor at least once a semester.
Damn, that's probably
make like you're on track.
That's probably like a good practice, honestly. I think we're supposed to meet them once a year. I don't really know though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shouldn't. What you should do and what you do is like what I'm bad at, I guess.
And then now you're in grad school. You started, I guess, 2018 fall.
Yeah. Another thing, if I graduated 1 year early, I don't think I would have been ready to apply for grad school. So
Oh, like with your applications and shit, you mean?
so
Yeah.
it made sense to like stay.
Yeah, it does make sense. And so can you tell us a little bit more about your grad program you're in?
So I'm in the computer science PhD program, and the School of Computer Science is like the complete like department, and within it has 7 different like departments,
Okay.
and I'm in the computer science department, which is
Nice.
like it's a bit confusing because like School of Computer Science and then computer science department, but
What are the other departments? Like just like what like not all of them, but like what's
AI, is that one of them or something? Like AI ML shit?
yeah, there is ML, and then there's comp bio, language technologies, so like NLP stuff,
Okay.
and robotics, um, HCI. That's
Damn, there's a whole department for that? Damn.
wait, what's
That's
HCI?
human computer interface. Like the
Oh.
Neuralink that
Oh
that type
shit.
of shit.
Okay. That's insane.
and there are 2 more that I'm forgetting.
The bullshit ones.
uh,
The HTML department.
Web design.
The web design department.
oh yeah, I actually know this. I should remember at least one more.
That's alright, no one's gonna see this, bro. It's fine.
Yeah, anyway, there are 7 departments, so I'm in the computer science one.
Okay. And
And
then what's your specific like lab or project or focus or whatever?
so I guess there's kind of like two main, kind of generalizing, but 2 main divisions within CSD. So one is theory, the so-called theory A side, and they focus on algorithms and computational complexity. And theory B, which is what I do, and they focus on programming languages, type theory, and type systems. So the more logic side of computer science. And so roughly what I do is, how do I say this? Devise methods for check to know that what you're doing is right. Basically, program verification. Like developing frameworks to ensure that you're actually writing what you think you're writing, basically.
So if I do like an if statement or like use the like additive operator, like it actually does that, or is it like more macro than that? Or micro, I guess.
Like the difference between the sequence of logical statements and the actual code. Like what
Right.
exists in an idea.
Like you're on the right track. It's basically like if I give you like a piece of whatever, like C code, right? How do you even describe what it's doing? Of course, there are ways of like having a comment that says, it does blah blah blah, but it's pretty informal, and you're most likely a lot of times you're gonna make mistakes doing documentation like that. So the idea is first have like a specification of like a formal specification of saying, well, like what are the allowable things that what can I describe about this program, right? And the other part is to actually come up with rules or like lemmas or theorems that tell you if you write your code in such a way, then these formal specs will follow.
Oh, interesting.
So you're almost doing like math. Like I guess computer science is math, right? But you're like you're trying to prove certain things about what can be like what you can extract from code.
Right. It's basically like, I guess in a very basic sense, it's just telling you like what programming languages are, like what do they even mean in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Damn.
you said, describing like what that like if you wrote some C code, you want to describe what it does, but like instead of describing it in English, because like English is kind of informal, not exact, you're describing it in math.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
You don't sound
Like,
convinced.
yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, you're like a mathematician basically.
Yeah, dude. Higher
Uh,
level CS is like all math, dude. I feel like.
yeah, we do use a lot of math. Uh, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Cool sometimes. It's also pretty annoying for that reason. Like, uh, people in this field invented like branches of math basically to solve these hard
Yeah.
programming languages.
Or are those
Uh,
branches like rooted in like I don't know, calc and algebra, something like that, or what?
um,
Are they like actually new?
like it's more connected. Yeah, I guess you can say it's analysis types like topology. Like domain theory is a lot of topology.
Okay.
Um,
Wait, did you ever study the halting problem? Did you have to, like, is like within the domain of what you study? The,
that's kind of like, I guess that's the old, like it's kind of an older field than what I study.
uh,
Because computability it's pretty old, right?
yeah,
And
Turing or something.
there are only two things, like the two observations you make about incomputability theory is whether a program halts, right? That's the only observation you make. And I guess for us, what we care more about is how things how things like behaviors at higher type, so to speak. So imagine if you have a program that has type Boolean, then the
Yeah.
only things that you can tell about that program is whether it returns true or false, right?
Right.
So a big question is, if you have a function, right, then what do you ascribe to it as its set of behaviors? So that leads to like the whole field of logical relations and related techniques of how do you describe behavior of functions, or functions that take in functions and return functions and so on.
Like, what's their
Um,
type?
Oh,
what set of behaviors can you expect from that?
Oh, I see. Okay.
wait, what's
Uh,
the type of programming where functions are passed into functions? There's like a name for it.
Nested? Is that what you're talking
No,
about? Oh.
functions into functions that returns other functions.
like the general term is higher order functions.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
if you have like a function that's from int to int, that's a first order function. But if it's like an int arrow int to int, that's a second order function, and so on.
Gotcha.
Did you ever do? Have you done any like software? Because you're a CS major. Have you done any like CS internships while you were like studying CS?
Um, yeah, I did 2 internships. The first one was in Boston. It was for a startup. Um, what did they do? They did like SAT test prep,
That,
like a platform for prepping for standardized testing. And I did. Uh, I I wrote an algorithm to I don't know if I told you about this, but I wrote the backend for like an app that like you can take a picture of like a known piece of like test bubble sheet, and
Mm-hmm.
then extracts the like the answers you put in basically. Like you know
Oh,
how in the
like a
ACT.
Scantron?
Yeah. Hmm?
Like a camera-based Scantron, like test.
Yeah. Scantron, yeah, that's the thing.
like image
Uh,
processing.
yeah, like yeah, very basic image processing. So that's what I did freshman year, and sophomore year I uh, did some networking stuff, like how to accelerate the data plane. Uh, yeah, basically, like how to receive packets really fast.
Okay.
That's what I did. Um, yeah, and that was in C++. And so I think it was that time that I realized I really didn't want to do this after I graduated. So, so I started thinking about applying to grad school, and that's
Okay.
I started like doing research and becoming interested in all this stuff.
Do you want to like now that you're in grad school? Do you want to like continue it, do some postdocs, or are you like ready to get out and like try the industry again?
That's a very good question. So yeah, I think first year or so I was like learning a lot of stuff. Like it was pretty good. And this year it's been a bit rougher because just trying to write down our results, and it's not as much learning new stuff. So sometimes I think, man, it would be pretty nice to just like have a normal job. uh, just write some code that you don't know if it's really right, but it works most of the time, and it's like call it a day.
Yeah, sounds about right.
But yeah, I think you kind of like have stages of how into your work you are, and
Yeah,
this is one of those points where I just need to like
write it out.
just write papers basically.
Yeah.
So it's not as exciting, but I think when I start like actually doing new stuff and learning about new things again, then it'll be more exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, industry is definitely the same way. There's definitely projects that you're like excited about, and then they'll either like die off or it'll end, and then you like put on some shit, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this shit.
Yeah, same thing. I feel like once you start working for a little bit, it's like the same. Like it just gets boring.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like then it's like a perpetual issue at that point, right? Then like if you'll never be satisfied with anything, it's just like a curse of being alive. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it's a hard question to answer, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, like the average person in the tech industry stays with the company like 15, no, maybe like 18 months or something. It's like 1.5 years.
Yeah.
It's like average.
Really?
Yeah, I know too. Like Google
Yeah.
is such a great
The
company.
same company. Yeah.
Yet people in Google only stay like a year or two, which is insane.
Yeah.
So many great benefits.
You even get all your sign-on bonus by that point.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Like you don't even get all your money if you leave after just 1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. All the stocks.
Yeah, bro. Those RSUs.
Wait, you're so deep in CS. What even got you into CS? Like I just started coding because I thought it was cool. I never like followed through with it and did a CS degree, but
Yeah, dude, me and programming go back kind of a long way. Yeah, I think I first started programming on my TI-82. Like,
oh, the calculator?
Same, bro.
Oh, me too, actually. Me too.
oh really?
Yeah, like I would make simple games, like where you move on, because you could draw on it.
Yeah.
There was like drawing functions, and you could like make simple like snake games or something.
Yeah.
I think my purpose was much more pragmatic. Like we had these like annoying trig problems that was really like formulaic and routine. So I just like made a program that like you would input all the parameters and it would just do all the calculations based on the conditions.
Yeah.
How you like, oh.
I know a really common one was like just put the quadratic formula in your calculator. But then I think the coolest one I didn't do that many cool ones. They're mostly like what you said, Yue, like formulaic ones. It was like I did an electron configuration one it's really like an ugly program. But if you just put in how many like protons / electrons were in like a neutral element, it would like say, 1p1, 2s2, 2p6, all the way up to
out.
They would just like list it all.
Damn, you guys were using it to get ahead while I was just having fun.
Yeah, I don't know what I think I was just interested in CS for some reason.
I mean, your dad's an electrical engineer, isn't he?
Oh yeah. That was oh yeah, I just remembered. So like before like freshman sophomore year of high school, I was interested in both electrical engineering and computer science because my dad was an electrical engineer. So I was interested in both, but I think that at that time, the part of CS I was interested in were things like computer graphics and like physics simulations and stuff like that. And also, encryption and cryptography. So definitely not what I'm doing now, but like I just thought, yeah, man, this stuff is really cool. Like I want to learn more about it. And I didn't want to do math because I feel like, you know, like everyone around me knew what math was, but like not many people knew what computer science was. Like, so I feel like I needed to like learn what it actually was, you know.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like everyone has a pretty good idea of what you do in math. Like you just like set up some interesting structures and studies, and then you study properties about them. So I feel like, okay, this is what it's about. Doesn't sound so interesting. And like with computer science, you know, you can build all this stuff by yourself. And that, I think that was one thing that I was really attracted to. Like you can build stuff on your own. And plus the fact that no one around me knew what it was made it like a more attractive reason.
Wait, how long ago was this when nobody knew computer science?
I mean, our high school was
You guys are
fine.
ancient.
It was like, I don't know. Our definitely
Like
didn't have that. Yeah,
Oh, compared to now?
compared to math.
Compared to math. Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, those were the two things, like in STEM, I think, like either you do engineering, math, or like computer science. Like those are the big three things that you do. And I feel like I had a pretty good idea of the other two. Not that I know any electrical engineering, I just feel like, you know, I don't want to do the exact same thing my dad did.
Yeah.
Were you ever interested in science, like physics or chemistry?
That's a no.
I was planning on doing like a physics double major.
Oh shit! What stopped you? Like, why didn't you?
After freshman year, I was talking with my advisor about like what I needed, and it was like mechanics and E&M and all this like stuff that I didn't really like. Like you know, everyone wants to learn about general relativity, right?
That's like the first year of class.
But to get there, you need to take all these like classical mechanics and E&M type stuff, which I really didn't want to do. But yeah, I did get a physics minor, so it is what it is.
Oh yeah, Rahul. Oh my bad.
Wait,
I was just like everyone in the CS department has to get a minor, so.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Most people do math.
Yeah,
I feel like
imagine,
everyone will do
like
math.
you're doing so many math courses.
Yeah, but freshman year I already sunk a lot of time into physics, so I was like, might as well just continue it.
Sunk cost, bro.
I actually I did the same thing. I took a bunch of math classes, but at the end I had like one left to get a minor, and I just didn't do it. I was just like, nah, it's too much. Should have done it.
Yeah.
So when did you know you wanted to do physics? What was it like?
Like my dad was a professor of physics in the USSR. Like like my dad is like the most like crazy life story. He like grew up in some like island. He was born on some island in Bangladesh, like complete poverty in 1957. Then when he turned 18, he was so studious, and like he basically had to raise himself since he was like 12 or 13.
Jesus.
And he eventually got a scholarship to go to the USSR. He studied physics. He studied electrical engineering. Then he got a PhD in physics. Then he taught there. So like growing up, like I was always like kind of surrounded by physics. And my dad would be like, "Oh, you never thought about that, huh?" And I was like, "Oh, all right, sure. That's not kind of crazy." I never thought too much about it until I started because like there's like learning physics where you just learn facts, and then there's learning physics where you learn the details and you go into the math, right? Because like physics is like you're describing nature, but like with the language of math, just like you're describing computer languages, programming languages, the language of math, right?
Exactly.
So like once you start learning that, you kind of get into intricacies of like, well, first you learn about how things happen, right? Like, okay, like things fall, but like how do they fall? They accelerate. But then it's like the thing that hooked me is like physics, because it's a science, you know, you're trying to describe the natural world. There's something like kind of profound about that, right? Because like when you exist, you know, you're just thrown into it and you don't really know what's going on, right? Life is just happening, experiences. But then physics humans attempt to like try to understand what's going on. Like what is light? What is stuff?
Yeah.
Why does light go through windows but not walls? You know, and it's like it was interesting to like try to like that's what hooked me on physics really.
But you didn't want to work in that field of like research or whatever.
I don't know. I'm a very easily I've always had a lot of interests. Like it wasn't just physics. That's the tough thing about you. The tough thing about living life, you only get one life, so like you have to choose what you want to do to an extent. Like I don't know, and I can imagine another life where I do physics and
a parallel universe.
Yeah, but then there's like other versions where I want to do different things, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, also like once I got into like I was always good at physics when in high school. I was pretty good at it when I got into undergrad, but then I realized once I start meeting more people that are really good at physics, my confidence kind of decreased. I'm like, maybe I'm not that great, and I won't be able to like perform well in grad school. So I was like, yeah, maybe I won't apply. But
how did you get into finance?
Oh, another one of my interests. I've been trading for like the past 3-4 years.
Okay.
It started out like just kind of like open up a Robinhood. Like, what's Robinhood? Open up an account, and then I started trading. Lost a bunch of money because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I still don't know what I'm doing, but I learned like a little bit more about like strategies, and that's kind of how I like got my interest in finance. And this job was like just a random opportunity of just to work in finance, and it was like the perfect opportunity because it's like tech and finance. Which I'm pretty interested in. But yeah.
Okay. Very cool. What about you? Like, did your dad push you towards like electrical engineering growing up or anything? Was he like, hey, you know, look at this electrical engineering textbook I had in college. You should check this out or anything?
Not really. I think he just pushed me to do more math, really. Made me go to math camp.
Did compete in the IMO?
No, nowhere. I think what's that thing? I went to the thing before USAMO.
The Amy.
Yeah, the Amy. I think that's the highest like level I went to.
That's pretty high though. That's like a couple levels up there.
No, it's literally the second level, I think.
Oh shit, is it? I don't remember. I didn't even get past the first one.
Yeah, but I just did a lot of competition math. It was pretty fun. Like I had other people doing it with me, so
yeah.
So did you ever get into programming?
See, that's the thing. Like, I think I did so much like competition math that I was like, okay, I know what this is about. And the fact that I didn't do competitive programming made me choose like, okay, time to do computer science now. So that was also part of it. Like, I didn't really do that much like programming like classes I took programming classes in high school, but
it wasn't like self-study though? Didn't you have to like self-study for the APCS?
Yeah, there wasn't like an APCS class. There was a computer programming class, and that was also self-study as well.
Then that wasn't a class; it was a self-study.
No, like yeah, actually, the students would just play like Minecraft in the class.
Dead.
It wasn't very.
It is CS related, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can program in Minecraft, can't you?
Yeah, like
with the red stuff,
red shit.
Yeah, whatever it's called, red dust. Fuck.
That's crazy.
I doubt the kids were doing that.
How complicated of a software do you think you can make within Minecraft? Like, that's a good question. Like, could you make like a freaking like I don't know, if you had like some kind of drawing mechanism, like make like Doom 3, like so make some like game.
The resolution's super low. I've seen people make like calculators in it. That's pretty insane.
Like, because you just have to have some like logical. You have
they have logical gates, exactly.
I mean, theoretically, you can do everything, but
make some like NLP
I don't know about
shit
that.
in there.
They have limits, dude.
That's a good question.
They only have like binary operators. Like anything you can do with binary, I guess.
Well, the limit. Well, that's what computers are, though. Like at the base level, like the gates, just logic gates with like transistors, right?
Yeah.
But then there's like the limit of like the actual Minecraft game, like
exactly.
how much memory it can hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, in real life, like I guess nothing is really Turing complete because you don't have infinite memory. You only have like
Yeah.
fixed amount of memory. So, but it's practically unbounded, right? You can always get more. Um, so yeah,
Unless
I think
then you run into a physical problem of just stuff in the universe. At some point, there's no more.
Certain amount
You
of
just run out of,
atoms.
you just run out of atoms.
yeah, that's one part of like computability theory that's kind of dicey, and like when you actually consider physics, because like universe is finite as far as we know. But then like in theoretical CS, they make all these assumptions about like infinite memory or infinite. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, at the end of the day, it's still like an objective study, but whether that object of study can be realized in real life is another question.
But it's a good approximation. Like if you're trying to like same thing's done in physics. You just approximate things
Right.
to like get a good solution, and then like there's some like difference.
Yeah.
Like you just keep in mind.
Yeah, I guess it assumes some sort of continuity principle about like how if you have a computation that like uses unbounded memory, that kind of approaches the ideal situation where we have infinite memory. But as far as I can tell, it seems to work pretty well. So
Yeah. I mean, that's what like science is in general. It's just like it's not like trying to like perfectly emulate or like describe, but like just enough so that we can like actually use it.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing about science, because science is just a story physics is just a story humans
Yeah.
tell each other about like the world, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just
There's no reason it's like that's why it's doing it.
right, and you would never know if it's actually right, because like there's no book you can compare. Like okay, these are like the book of the universe. Okay, our laws, our models are actually correct. You know, but I feel like CS is different because actually I don't know.
Because it's all virtual or what?
CS and physics is like creation, right? About like physics is a model humans create about the world.
Mm-hmm.
But then CS doesn't describe something inherently about the universe, but I guess it does, because logic is logic a thing that inherently exists in the universe, or is logic a thing human creates? Like it's what I'm trying to ask is math created or is math discovered, right?
I guess from my point of view, like at least for me, the double-edged, like the two sides about physics is that the good thing is that you have an objective measure to like assess against, right? It's the real world. Whether your model is good or not, so to speak, does it work in the real world? But for CS, like you have the model in one hand and you have your theory on one hand, and those are both things that you created. So it's like
yeah,
it's perfect.
But it's like you have to make it logically consistent, like internally consistent, though, right?
That's one part of it. Also for logic, there's different types of logic, right? There's
Cartesian.
like okay, I guess really like the meta logic is all the same, but when you study logic as an object, there's like intuitionistic logic, linear logic. Yeah, I guess that's more about like proof theory, but yeah, that's an interesting question. I think the logic that we think in, like the actual meta logic, seems pretty necessary for it to be the way it is.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine it being anything else than it is. Because then if something other, if like modus ponens doesn't hold, then there's like absolute chaos. Like how can you even do anything?
What's modus ponens?
Yeah, what is that?
like the rule that says if A then B and A then B.
Oh, like if A then B implies if A is true, then B is true. This statement okay, I see. Yeah, then that's like that's like the foundation. That's like the foundation, right?
Yeah. That's like a philosophy thing too, I think.
Yeah. Which is another attractive thing about math and physics, because like
this when you go deep enough.
Yeah, it just becomes like you enter another realm of like trying to understand reality, like
Yeah.
what the features of reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But
why
I feel like,
metaphysics.
Yeah.
but then I feel like CS people are like farther from reality than like most other. They're like
Yeah.
a little ungrounded.
We're closer than like math people
Really?
because we care about. Are we? I don't know. Depends on what part of CS you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you're talking about like, the really cool thing is like, type theory, which is all this program verification stuff, is also connected to this subfield of, or like subculture of math, like constructive mathematics. Like those are connected via computation, because normal, quote unquote, normal mathematicians don't really care about computational content of math. It's just it holds because of like these formal axioms. But constructive mathematics is about, it's true because I can give you a construction of why it's true. And like the most egregious example is like geometry. Like things are true because you can construct like these objects that demonstrate its truths, right?
Yeah, like there's some axioms that you just have to assume they're true.
Like a lot of mathematics just work off of axioms that don't necessarily give you that construction.
Yeah.
And that part of it connects to computer science in like a pretty significant way. So I would say like, some part of computer science is just as ethereal as math, but another part of it is pretty like down to earth.
You have to, it's kind of like physics, because you have like the real world to work with, right? Like you can build actual computers, but you can't build like the ideas in math can't really ever exist in the real world, because you can't really have like a circle. There's no perfect circles in our universe.
Yeah. I think that's a slightly different issue. I don't know how to articulate it well, but
Yeah, your specialty's never been in articulation, which is great to have you on.
but I do think perfect circle exists, not in the real world, but in some world.
In some world.
Yeah, I think like as you go like and like go into these different areas, especially within STEM, I'm sure the soft sciences too, like you see that so many of these disciplines are like interconnected, and there's like some foundational, I don't know about truths, but like concepts that kind of like spread across multiple disciplines.
It's like a hierarchy of like nature.
Yeah.
Right. It's like at the base of the universe, it's like these fluctuations of fields, and like they create particles, and then those particles do funny things called chemistry.
Yeah.
And then chemistry does this funny thing called biology. And biology like builds to like whatever else there is.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't it make you wonder like why, like if that's really the case, then shouldn't everyone just study like quantum mechanics, and that would just explain everything else?
Because it is too high resolution. Like you can't, if you try to understand how a building stands, right? You can't take a magnifying glass and look at each individual brick, because you won't understand like the overall structure. Like if you can't understand like the descriptions in physics that describe particles are too high resolution to understand like
you don't need to worry about like
life,
weak nuclear force or strong nuclear force when you're like worried about structures.
Right. Yeah. And like you can't understand social structures through like physics. You can't understand like
Pretty cool though.
like through particle physics at least.
Yeah. I
Maybe
think
one day actually, maybe one day people will just work it out. Like, hey, like
they'll map the human brain.
Like exactly. Like they have this huge equation. Like this is what describes like with all the atoms, like why this dude is a dumbass.
Why this dude's a dumbass?
Yeah.
Dude, if only there was an equation to find out if you're a dumbass, bro.
Exactly. That'll be my solution too. I'll finally know why I am.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's like, obviously when we're talking about, especially when we like bring in more of the soft sciences and like social structures, there's like the added layer of like human consciousness, which is basically just a big question mark as far as I'm concerned. of like, one, where does it stem from? I don't know if it like stems from exactly just like a biological, you know, equation or like circumstance, like, oh, now you have, you know, consciousness if you put these different like biological things together and add some electricity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's going to be explained by any one discipline for sure.
That's a freaky question because consciousness is like what we are. You know what I mean? I feel like that's one of the bigger questions. Because what if we're just in a simulation? And like, I mean, this is just what we're, you know, like what we're experiencing is not like related to any real physical world.
Right.
I feel like it's one of the bigger questions that's like mysteries out there.
Yeah.
One question I have is, does consciousness imply that you're self-aware?
Fuck.
That's so we have to define consciousness, right? Like, I feel like self-awareness is definitely part of it, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
But then it comes down to like, are we the only things that are conscious? Because I'm sure like other animals are conscious, right?
I'd say there's levels. It's a spectrum, like a lot of things. But there's like a base. Like, what do we call like the most basic consciousness?
Plants are conscious, according to that definition. Plants are self-aware on some level. Like they know where they fit. You know how like you know where you are sitting in a room, like, you know, like coordination physically where you are. Plants know where they physically are compared to like other things around them, and compared to like the sun in the sky every day. Like they can move around slowly.
I mean, like a GPS knows where my phone is, but a GPS isn't conscious.
That is true. That is true.
Or is it? Or is the GPS conscious?
That is on you to answer, dude. Yes, man.
I mean, that's the problem with like going to such a high level. It's like, I think our like text tree is just not, or our language is just not evolved enough yet to like even pose those questions.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, that's what like a lot of new science is for, is like creating just at least a language for people like to communicate about this stuff. Because there's
which is really weird. Because I always think, oh, we're like, our language is pretty like, seems pretty good to express most ideas.
Yeah.
But then you ask like what consciousness is, and it's just like no one knows what's going on. Or I haven't really heard like a convincing explanation or description.
Do you spend time thinking about like how your mind works? I spend a lot of time thinking about like trying to figure out what trying to see patterns in my mind, or like trying to figure out like what this experience is from my point of view. I don't know. Do you do that? Like try to figure out like why your mind does certain things?
I guess I think about why I do certain things, not necessarily why I think them.
Yeah.
A little bit more pragmatic. I think that's like a recurring theme in a lot of your in your like history, is like a lot of pragmatism and like application rather than like.
Yeah, it's just like why am I not working right now is a big question.
Why am I on this podcast right now, bro?
Yeah, like a lot of it is driven by like I just want to get my work done, or like do something.
But like that's like an external thing. Like if the work goes away, then like what's your why? Like what are you doing? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, that's also a recurring question these days.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough question.
Yeah. Yeah, you got me there.
Dude, you're in grad school because you don't know what the fuck you're doing, bro. That's what
I mean, one thing I know, or I knew, was that I didn't want to be doing the thing I would have to do if I weren't in grad school.
That's me right now. I know I don't want to do this. Like I'm looking for like I don't know what I want to do, but I just know it's not this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess some direction.
That's exactly what I felt like after my internships. It's like, I don't know if grad school is right, but it's definitely better than what I'm doing right now. So.
Well, dude, networking is not a glorious part of CS. I mean, I guess it might be for some people, but like,
what is not?
Networking and infrastructure stuff, like, well, I guess infrastructure is really broad, but networking in particular, I feel like is like a kind of niche that is not very sought after.
I mean, if I wanted to, if I were to work in something, networking sounds pretty cool, to be honest.
Damn.
Like, you know, like working on like bare metal stuff is always, you know, you get street cred for that.
Hey, Oracle Cloud, bro. We got bare metal servers, bro.
Like whether or not it's really that hard is another question, but you know, like if I were to do it, it seems more attractive to me than like front end stuff.
Oh yeah, you would not be good at front end stuff, dude.
A lot
Like,
of
wait, I have to
research.
think about a customer. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking, dude. They're fucking idiots.
It's
about, like,
always the user's fault.
Wait,
What'd you
how
say,
about
bro?
like research? Have you ever thought about that? Like work at some like research branch in a big tech company because you already
Yeah,
know how to do research.
they definitely need PhDs. That's the level they're looking for.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just I feel like research level or programming languages that's pure research is pretty, at least comparatively, not as like there aren't as many job offers as something like machine learning.
But the
Right.
process of doing research itself is like valuable. Like people that know how to do research, like real research, is like that's like valuable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just because you did research something in like pretty like
Niche.
specific and
Yeah.
like difficult to understand is like a really valuable skill.
Yeah, and also like the people that are like gonna be reaching out and hiring for these people, you can definitely fucking not fool them, but like just say smart shit and they'll be like, oh, okay, you're qualified.
Yes. AI, quantum computing. Make sure you mention quantum.
And like if anyone knows how to learn, it's gonna be like these grad students that did PhD programs. Like they can teach you whatever. I mean, on the job training is huge. Like a lot of these people don't know what the fuck they're doing the first day, but they'll learn, you know.
When you work at a startup, no on the job training. They just like my boss literally just looks at the most thing I can do to that brings the most value without the most investment and makes me do that. It's like, yeah, you can make some videos that like explain this concept to our community. Yeah, do that. Here, tutor our community. Do that. And it's like there's like just random shit.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if I'd want to work at a startup, bro. I don't know.
It's
I
intense.
have trouble working for other people in the sense that like I'll only give a certain amount of effort. Like I'll like work for you, but like I'm not gonna give like my full out, you know.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be enough to satisfy your like whatever, but it's not gonna be everything that I have because like I'm saving that for shit I want to do.
Yeah, and that I feel like that comes down to your CEO and the boss too. Like some people just expect that from you. It's just like not cool. Like, bro, I have a life outside of this. I want to have a life outside of this.
Yeah. How do you feel like? I mean, people talk about work-life balance in the industry a lot. How's like work-life balance in a doctorate program or your specific one, I guess?
It's actually pretty good, honestly. Bit more like stress these days because you know conference deadlines, but usually it's like you know just do what you can. If you don't make good progress one week, it's like just try to do better next week. Not really any real pressure besides like publishing. So I would say it's like it's pretty good. One thing I guess is you have to know when to stop working because there's especially research, there's always something else you need to learn about or want to learn about or just in general need to do. But you have to figure out like where is a good stopping point for you, because otherwise you just go on and on and on, not just on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. You just keep diving into like random stuff that's related, but not like strictly necessary for your current project. And I think I did that a couple times, even recently. And yeah, you just have to kind of like set a boundary or perimeter around your current project and say, okay, I'm just going to look at related work within this area, like within this boundary. Outside of that, even if it's like somewhat related, I will just not care about that. Because otherwise, insane looking reading papers.
Yeah.
You're like your own teacher at that point. Like you have to figure out what to learn and how much of it to learn.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case for one of my projects right now, and it's kind of scary. But the good thing is that it's math, so you know if it's right, because if it's not right, then it's wrong. So,
yeah, that should be quoted. Put up on a wall somewhere.
Like, I mean, it's not much room for debate, right? So you just get it or you don't. And part of the frustration is just setting up everything so that it will work out, and not work out.
And
Yeah.
you have some experience in research too, right? In undergrad? Or
Yeah,
what?
I did like, well, not, it was, yeah, undergrad research, which I feel like isn't real research because like I feel like in grad school is when you actually like go to the boundaries of knowledge and like try to like figure out something new. But like I did some like, I had this internship that was like at this funded by NASA with this thing, and there was like basically a research team, and they were like, our goal was to investigate new. So there are these solar panels that are like curved. So so naturally, usually you solar panels you think of as flat, but these curved cells
They're big?
they're big, yeah, and you can
Okay.
put them in any shape. So you can think of it as like a blanket, right? And you can put it literally in any shape you want.
Interesting.
And it's an optimization problem. What is the best shape for a given location on Earth, or a given location outside of Earth, even? And there's like different ways to approach it because there's so many different ways of optimizing, and there's so many things that affect the efficiency of like solar panels. So there were like this team, there were people like working on like how heat affects solar panel energy production. So I was working this project where we were trying to like apply, you know about the genetic algorithm? I don't know if you guys know about genetic algorithms.
No,
It's like,
I don't. Not really.
so it's like an optimization algorithm that searches for a solution in any like general space. So like other optimization algorithms like I don't know, like gradient descent, you need like some kind of differentiable function, like some error function, right? But like, so genetic algorithm can actually search in any arbitrary space, even like non-continuous space. Because what it does is it creates a bunch of solutions, and it takes each solution and finds the best solutions that like not the, like that are closest to this answer, even if you don't know what the answer is. Because you have to have a way to like kind of evaluate each one. And then you take those solutions and kind of just merge them and create a new population that are like similar to those.
I've seen similar stuff like that.
Yeah, it's basically like evolution. You have like natural selection on your population of solutions, and you pick the best one. Your natural solution is basically how you like grade each solution, and you pick the best ones, and you do that and do that for generation, then you get a solution eventually.
Do you have to feed it those first equations?
Yeah, you just create you can just create them randomly.
Yeah,
usually.
okay.
Just create like a random, like you want to make it random so like you get enough of the search space, right?
Yeah.
And that was fun. It didn't really lead to anything, but it was fun to do. That's what I mean. Like there's no real like research, but like it was fun to do. It ended up in a paper, I guess.
How do you merge solutions?
So it depends on how you define each solution. So like one way to define a solution is as a binary string. So like kind of like a DNA of the like 0101 is the DNA of the solution, and you have to interpret the binary string into like what the features are of that solution. So like the features can be,
I see.
Right.
Like height, width.
Exactly. And
curvature.
In that, exactly, curvature. Like in that example, it was like angles and curvature.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or
wait, I feel like if you interpolate it, okay. Yeah, there's just some. I was thinking like you record the entire feature space as like just like 3D coordinates and just like interpolate with some function between two solutions like that. I guess that's way too data intensive.
No, that's kind of what you do. You're right, because like so if you have two solutions in your binaries, because like the binary string represents some like
other thing
point in space in some sense, right? Because like each like if you have 01010101, it's like 8 bits, then it's like some corner in some 8-dimensional cube, right? So like you can interpolate like what's the closest corner in some sense.
I think that's essentially right what you just said, Yue. It's just
that weird issue with that, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do this stuff a lot in ML, right? They like handcraft like these so-called features, and in that case, they do gradient descent. and they also have, yeah,
Regression.
I don't know. Sounds interesting though. Genetic algorithms.
Yeah. Although it sounds crazy, but it's actually pretty straightforward. I feel
Yeah.
like people that don't know CS, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually it's pretty simple CS.
Do the initial conditions like dramatically affect the evaluation of your final answer?
If your search is like if you're searching if the way you're merging solutions is convergent to like the best solution, it shouldn't affect it. But it will if and I'm like re-remembering this. I'd imagine like if like let's say you create a random population and they all somehow end up in like some kind of local minimum or maximum,
Oh, I see.
then you're kind of fucked. But like hopefully that it's random enough, it's everywhere. But like I'd imagine it affected sometimes. Like you might just miss the solution completely sometimes, or miss the best solution.
Yeah, you'd have like a local maximum or whatever rather than
right. But it is also like you know how like in like animals like it's not just sexual. It's like there's also mutations. You could also like put some mutation, like randomness into it.
Does that happen in the? Oh really?
Yeah, you can like add that feature. Just like in art, like there's no like gradient descent is like an exact equation, but like in genetic algorithms, you can add like new parts to it. Like oh yeah, what if we just did this? What if one just jumped here to there sometimes randomly?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any like theory to predict what would happen if you did one of those things you said?
I know there's a theory behind. I remember I was like when I looked at this textbook for genetic algorithms. I didn't really read it, but I know there's like a theory like on how to like determine if it'll converge. Because you want to like that's like the main problem. Like, will it converge? Like your grade, like how good your solution is. But I don't really.
Because it could just like fluctuate.
Yeah, it could also do that, or you just if it does that, then you probably messed up somewhere.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, listen, I watched a bunch of like Yue, do you know Code Bullet on YouTube? No? Okay. He just makes like a bunch of like AI type shit for games.
Yeah.
So he's done like one for Snake, he's done one for like what are some of the cooler ones? I don't know, just makes a bunch of AI simulations for different games. Like the Impossible game or something where you're like trying to build
Yeah.
So he's just making, and a lot of them are genetic, especially for like the hardest.
Oh yeah,
Impossible.
It's like have you seen Mario?
Oh, I think
the one that plays Mario, yeah.
And you see a bunch of them in the beginning. Oh yeah.
Oh, I've seen the one for Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird. Okay, yeah, I think I've seen that one too. Yeah, I think like what attracted me to CS, and I decided CS was my career, or not my career path, but like what I wanted to like go into more, like kind of late. I'd say it was like my sophomore, junior year of college is like when I figured out I kind of wanted to go that route. But I think like it was always definitely the application that like interests me the most. Not like, I mean, AI it's definitely cool, and like all human computer interface and like all the like cutting edge futuristic type shit is always really interesting to like read about and stuff. But I think like what really like sold me on it was like how immediate your impact could be on like what's already out there. I guess more like technology application than like discovering new parts of it.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, just like different ways we can inject like some sort of computation or program that would like make shit easier for people.
You like building?
Or optimize stuff. Yeah, I like building. I definitely like building.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's definitely like in essence, that's what initially made me choose computer science. But nowadays, I think I'm more drawn to like the abstract theory part more. Yeah, I really couldn't care less about applications.
Computer scientist stuff.
Lol.
I mean, the problem is like if you really want to make a impactful application, that's like not a job of a PhD student. That's definitely like years of engineering to get to that kind of level. So yeah, but it is like have to remember like what makes it worth doing is that in theory it has applications, but in practice
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm okay with that. I'm content with that because, one man can only do so much, right? You can't
Yeah.
like build a theory of something and also implement it.
I mean, have you heard of that dude that's a Harvard med doctor, Navy SEAL, and an astronaut? I mean, basically just did everything.
What the? How?
That guy.
Wait, you haven't heard of him?
No.
It's crazy. You gotta look him up. He's now an astronaut, but he was also a Navy SEAL and also like a Harvard med doctor. Maybe even a lawyer. Who even knows at this point?
Wait, did he do all those things concurrently or just like?
No, it's weird. He right after high school he went to become Navy. Then he joined the Navy SEALs. Somehow he became a Army medic. Then he got into Harvard Med School.
Damn.
Then like somehow he ended up as a NASA astronaut.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I
have a question about that. Like, and I've thought about this. I'm trying to think when I thought about this. Probably like high school. I don't think middle school. But I was like, okay, do you think there's like, and it's kind of like destiny-ish, but like, do you think there's some people that are just like going to succeed no matter what they do, basically, under like a normal range of like circumstances? Like someone like that he just described.
I think it takes effort.
I mean, no, they definitely have to try, but like if they try, like they can basically succeed in whatever they do. Like they'll be successful. Or do you think like you have to have these certain circumstances that'll lead you down a path?
So the question is whether like is it the person or is it the circumstances that lead them to success? Definitely both. But like how to the extent of like how much, right, of each.
Right.
That's a hard question.
Because I feel like
for some people it's the person, and for some people it's the circumstance.
Yeah. I
feel like some people will just like fucking nail it no matter what. Like,
Do you think that exists? That there's like some people that like.
Yeah, I definitely think that exists.
Yeah.
I mean, Rahul's dad is one example.
Wait, what'd you say?
Your dad is one example of that.
Oh yeah, but dad.
They'll persist no matter what obstacle, basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like imagine if you grew up in the US and had like actual like good schooling and stuff. Then
like rich parents and shit that cared about his education and stuff. Send him to math camp. No,
but maybe if he had the circumstances, he wouldn't have been as hardworking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, is there an inherent value of struggling?
Because he had to survive. He had no option of that.
Yeah, he had to hustle.
Yeah.
You have a silver spoon.
I feel like that's my issue. I feel like
what?
What's holding me back is like myself. If I were just like more attentive, more hardworking, or more like just had more grit, I would be more successful. But then I don't know if I don't know. What's holding me back is like, do I want my imagination of success or what I think I want? Is that what I'm not confident in what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing and trusting myself and going.
Dude, I think like that's the most common problem. I think most people have enough talent to be really successful at most things, but most people lack is just the dedication and effort. Like that's your talent is definitely not like the choke point for if you're not successful.
Right.
Like I think I very highly strongly believe that.
Do you think like if talent versus hard like a work ethic? I mean, like, do you think which one on average is going to be more successful, quote unquote? Like someone that has like really talented but sort of poor work ethic, or like really good work ethic but like not that,
There's talented? It depends on the thing. Like there's something where like you need talent. I feel like if you want to be a swimmer, you need like certain things. Like if you want to be Olympic level, you need big ass arms and shit. Like that's like talent on some level, genetic talent, I guess. Like
at least there's that ceiling you can get with more talent or lack of.
I mean, the crux of the issue is that like I know I'm not gonna be a swimmer, right? So I'm not even gonna try to become try to put any effort into it.
Hey, who knows? Maybe in 10 years we'll find you like on the Olympic team.
Yeah, dude. Just do some body modifications.
But I mean, like most people have a pretty good idea of what they're good at, so I don't think they'll like waste any effort, so to speak, by trying really hard at something. Like if Kai wants to become a good manager, I think he definitely has the talent.
Thanks, bro.
Talent is not gonna hold him back from like advancing the corporate ladder or something.
Yeah.
But so that's what I think. I mean, but if you were like aiming for like literally the number one in the world, then yeah, probably need some sort of talent. But if you're aiming for the top 1%, I think most people have like the basics to do it.
Okay.
It's I guess if you count willpower or discipline as basics, then okay, or talent, then sure, maybe some people don't have it, but I think it's
That's the other thing. Some people just like talented in the fact they have like a crazy work ethic, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. I mean, I know those are both sports examples, but I'm sure there's industry ones too. They're just gonna like fucking slave towards a dream, no matter what. Like, do you think that's something that it's like more genetic code than just like, I don't know.
That's kind of scary though. Like, sorry, continue. What were you saying?
No, that's it. That's pretty much it.
It's kind of scary. Like, I feel like I imagine myself being. I can imagine myself being completely dedicated to something, but then I think about the other things I could be doing. I'm like, like that's pretty cool too. And I only get one life. Like, do I really just want to be? Do I just want to get really good at one thing?
Yeah.
Or do I want to just try a bunch of things? But then I don't know. My dad always told me just pick one thing and get good at it, and you'll like it'll just like it'll be like a rock, and it'll just like you'll always be that'll be your thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we're actually. Oh, we're gonna say something, Yue? My bad.
I don't know about whether it's genetic or not, but I would take that like over talent.
Yeah, same, dude. It's like a doggedness, bro.
Because like when I really get into something, like that's when I feel the best. Like even if I'm not like producing the best results, like if I'm really working hard on something, then like that's when I feel like I'm actually like living with a purpose. Like even if I think that feels much better than like getting a good result on something that you didn't try very hard on.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like you're achieving what you want to do. It's like a feeling of power almost, right? Like you can do what you set your mind to, and you like accomplish it.
Yeah, it's like realization of like your like what you imagine what things could be like, right? And I think that's a really good feeling.
I agree with you though. Like I feel like it's for things that you don't have any physical limitations. If you put your mind to it, you're like just that's like you're obsessed with it. Like you're gonna do well. Like you're eventually gonna figure out a way to like just become good at it.
Yeah, that's a very, very powerful thing. So
yeah.
And what do you guys think about like external influences? And you can relate this back to your like personal story or just like generalize it too. But like, how do you think like your specific parents, your specific place you grew up, how do you think that influenced like where you got? Like, do you think if you were put in a way worse or way better, you would be in like a different situation?
I don't know. I mean, my circumstances were, I mean, to me it seems normal because it was my life.
Yeah, everyone had this shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, always been interested in science. I mean, it makes sense why I studied physics. I can't really imagine like another life.
Yeah.
There were moments in my life. I almost moved to Bangladesh. So like there was a point in my life where like there was like a split. There was a huge split. And one thing, I moved to Bangladesh, but then I came back because some shit happened. And if I stayed in Bangladesh, I imagine that's what happened when I was 14. If I stayed in Bangladesh, I'd imagine like my life would be completely different. Like I'd be very different. I don't know if I'd be a different person. Because that's hard to completely. Like, because I'm still the same person I was on some level like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like the same like things I enjoy are pretty similar, but like I don't know. My life would be very different if I did stay there.
When did you move back?
So like when I was there, like I got into a car accident and like my dad decided like it was like a dangerous like we moved for like kind of like shaky reasons regardless, and we realized it was kind of like Bangladesh is like a developing country.
Yeah.
It's like it's an intense place. Like if you've never been to like a country where like this India or Bangladesh or like country where there's like just packed, there's like just shit happening everywhere. Like if you go to the middle of the city, it's like sounds and everything.
Yeah.
But we decided like just to move back because like so like during while I was there, I was in a car accident where like my mom died, and like we came back because like my dad decided it's kind of dangerous. because like the car accident happened during the like kind of shaky like circumstances, and
Like it was targeted, or
it wasn't targeted. It was just like just recklessness, and we realized, oh yeah, nobody really. It's like
you can't control it.
like it's lawless. Like the movie, it's just lawless out there. Like traffic signs aren't a thing people follow. Like you just bribe the police officers. That's just normal. There's corruption on every level.
Oh, I see.
And we decided, yeah, maybe not the best idea to stay there, and we just came back. And
I guess I was asking, like, why did you go to Bangladesh in the first place?
So like I moved here. I was born in Bangladesh, and when I was 6, my parents moved here because there was like the visa. It was like a lottery visa. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, sure.
Whatever. It has a name. And they came here, and they were like, yeah, America. My dad wanted to like teach here or something, and then I don't know, like it's just shitty. Like being an immigrant, thousands of miles away from your family. Like I was a kid back then, so I couldn't really understand. But looking back, I understand why they left. Like all your family is back home. You know nobody. You're working a shitty job, 8 hours a day, like long hours, just to like barely make it. And I don't know. It was just I'd imagine it was like wearing them down. And they decided that it was probably best because there was like back home we're pretty. Dad would be just like pretty like well off because like he would just get a job back at a prestigious school teaching physics and math. They could be making money, but like, and there's pretty good schools there. So like, yeah, my kids, I could still give them good education, but just didn't work out that way. But I'd imagine like that car accident, like my mom dying, was like probably like one of the more significant
I'm sure
moments in my life. But
and how old were you? You're like 15 or something? You're in high school?
I was 14. Yeah.
Jesus.
Long time ago. But then like it was hard for like a few years because like I don't know, it's like hard to. My brother was like 10 at the time, but I'd imagine it hit it. Like I don't know how. I'd imagine it affected him more, but it's the like. I mean, I even though I'm not like I haven't forgotten her, but I feel like I've accepted it. Like like there were moments in my life where it was hard to accept, but like now I'm more accepting. Like that moving on.
Did your dad move on well?
I don't know. Like brown people aren't very like Asian people are. I don't know how it works in like. Are you from China?
Yeah.
I don't know how like Asian people. I don't know how it works in China, but like Asian people aren't very like expressive emotionally.
Especially males.
Yeah. It's like it's very oriented around like just keeping to yourself.
Stoicism almost.
Yeah, stoicism.
Yeah.
But yeah, like then after that, so I came back to the US. But like another pivotal moment in my life was actually like discovering psychedelics.
Yeah. I was wondering when this was going to get brought up.
It was
when was that? Yeah. Give us a little history of summary of your psychedelic experiences /
So like, I don't know. I've just always been a person curious about life. Cause like, it's like, so when you're teenagers, when most people first realize that they exist, and because when you're a kid, you don't really think about it. Like, no, it's just like a human psychology.
I totally agree with that, Rahul. I really agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I barely became conscious in high school. Like, before that, it was just, you're just like
You're still not
like,
woke.
just like existing without really thinking about it.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it's like that's what I'm like really interested in, like psychology and neuroscience. Most of the time you're thinking, you're not very aware you're thinking.
Yeah.
Right? You're just in the act of doing it. And whatever it is, if you're focused on something, it's just the act of being focused on something, whatever it is. And it's the moment when you step back and realize, it's happening. It's like, oh shit, I've just been doing that for a long time. But you can also have that realization with life. Like, oh fuck, I'm alive.
Yeah.
And this is really happening. And this is the thing that kids like don't know they exist the same way we are aware that we exist, right?
Yeah.
They want things, oh, give it to me now, blah, 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 this is happening.
Reptilian brain.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, like I really got interested in like psychology and like, and neuroscience.
And psychedelics.
After taking psychedelics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
what was that first experience?
It was, so when I
was
was
like homeless guy. So like, hey, let's try
yeah,
some
exactly.
fucking shrooms.
So it was in like when I was 21 or 20.
Okay.
And I had tried weed before. Like it was kind of just made me anxious. I didn't really understand it. I was like, I tried drinking, but like psychedelics are so different because they're not meant to elicit any type of emotion. Like when you drink, people drink to depress emotions. Like it changes who you are in a sense. Like you don't want to feel things, or you smoke weed to like feel like very interested in things or like giggly about things, right? But like psychedelics just like change the way
you see.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They enhance whatever you're feeling right now,
Right.
but then they change the way you look at things, in the way you perceive things. So it's one of the most interesting things about like how our mind works, because like you know how like you've done image processing, right? So like the way image detection works is, how does a computer know like when you put an image in front of it, like when you feed an image is the image of a cat,
right?
Because the cat is such a complex thing. It's so many shapes. It's not like one exact triangle, blah.
Yeah.
Right. Like our mind is always doing this on a similar way, right? You're seeing these. It's taking it's taking visual information and perceiving it and creating an object.
Yeah.
Right. We live in a world of objects, like visually. You don't look at the wall and see line, circular line. You see basketball wall, bag, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And our mind categorizes things and gives these things a model in our world. Like it creates a model of these things in our, that exist in the real world. And let's say, this model of basketball, I see a basketball. Visually, I interpret it as a basketball, but then there's other things in that model. My emotions toward the basketball,
right.
Maybe, right? Like what I know about a basketball, like if I look a little bit deeper into it. But what psychedelics do is they come in there and they kind of start disturbing those models, and it's terrifying. It's completely terrifying. It's like the first few times I tried it, I was just completely terrified. I was like, shit, I don't want to be here anymore. I mean, like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And it's still pretty
just
terrifying.
chugging water in the background.
Yeah. And where I kind of lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's terrifying, and it's also insightful because when the models start breaking down, like your previous perception of things, you can start creating new perceptions of things.
Yeah.
And you can do this in your normal life too. Like you can learn to have new perspectives on things. You don't need psychedelics to do it, but it happens
the process.
Yeah, it happens so dramatically.
Yeah.
You start thinking about things in ways you've never thought about it before, like people in your life, or maybe like things in the world that you've thought about before. Or it also happens visually, because like the way we perceive visually is also the way we perceive things visually is also depends on models that our brain creates. That distance, for one thing. Things are smaller, right? If I look at the TV, like the TV is smaller than, let's say, this book right over here visually, but I know that the TV isn't really smaller than this book because the TV is just farther away, right? And that's just it's kind of weird, but like that's just a thing our mind does, and it doesn't really even think about it. Just it's far away, and even describes a distance to it.
Yeah.
And that can also like kind of become shaky. Things start moving back and forth because your mind's like, what if it was a little bit further? What if it was a little bit closer? Right? What if it actually were smaller? And then your TV looks super tiny, and it's super interesting. And I mean, I could go on and on about this, but I think
especially more recent, like medical and clinical applications of psychedelics is really interesting because, like you said, it sort of shifts your perceptions of things, and like especially as we grow older, and obviously we're not that old, but like our ideas and concepts of certain things and relationships is gonna get like more set in stone.
Yeah.
And so like I've always seen psychedelics, and I'm relatively new to like that world, but as a good way to sort of like break down your preconceived notions and shit about things, because it like already lets you know that like, hey, your actual perception is like a complex thing, and like there's so many processes going on, just like you said, so you can just like walk around and be a functional human. And then psychedelics can like alter that and be like, hey, like you're just like, see, these are just like electrical impulses, this is just like
it's like it feels like you're normally aware of these things, like you can be aware of these things sober, but it has a certain like in your face to it when you're on a psychedelic. It has like an emotional, like you really get it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. It's especially you might have some of those stories that are ingrained into you as you get older might be like self-deprecating or something.
Or
you know what I
trauma
mean?
or something.
Yeah, and like it's hard to shake them off. Like especially about like even if you should, because our mind has a certain quality to it where if things are meaningful to us, you'll tend to think about them more.
Right, exactly.
And it doesn't. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying if you take psychedelics, it'll like. It's not a cure to anything, but
Right.
like it'll definitely shake you up a little bit and show that no, this isn't just the only way of thinking about it. But you have to like act on that. And like if you want to make it if you want to use it in a useful way, like you can't like after the experience. Okay, now that I have these new perspectives, how do I change my actions in my normal world to like now take on these new insights I've learned.
Yeah, and that other thing, and I'll let you like ask any questions, because I know you're like not as in this world of psychedelics. I don't know how, like what level of interest you are, but we can talk about that too. But like I think the other thing that's really cool, and like neuroscience has been super interesting. I haven't done many deep dives, mostly just like Wikipedia articles and shit like
same.
that. About like neuroplasticity and all that kind of shit. But like even though like you're sort of not sober, or you're definitely not sober when you take these psychedelics and you think like these different thoughts, like those don't just go away because you sober up. Like once you have that thought of like viewing the situation or whatever in a certain way, like you can think about that when you're sober more like logically or whatever,
right? And how depending on how meaningful to you, it'll just stick more. Like they're crazy ideas. They might be the ideas that you've thought about before, but you never really consider like maybe I'm not such a shit person. Never thought about that before. Now it's like kind of sticks with you. Like maybe and like the way it helped me is like kind of like figure out like what matters to me. Because like once you realize, hey, like life is just this journey you're thrown into, and one day it's gonna be over, and all you can really do is kind of just like be here to witness it. But, like what matters on this journey? Is it like this money I'm like kind of gathering? Is it like
okay,
my things,
bro? No,
right? That's a tricky
amount
one,
of money in my
that's all that stacks. But like family, friends, like what really matters. And that's why it's been most meaningful. Like it's kind of grounded me in a sense where like I know what matters, and I don't like, as long as I focus on that on some level, I know the other things I can just like not like I don't have to like really care about the other things, let it affect me, but I can still work on it. It doesn't mean like I can like not care about like career. I can still delve fully into a career, but I don't have to let it hurt me if something doesn't work out the way I want it to, because the things I really care about are still okay. I can have those.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
What do you think? Yeah, and so like Yue, or to all our listeners or whatever that are like thinking about it but like nervous to try it or don't know where to start, like you shouldn't just like go in and take DMT if you've never done psychedelics, right? Like what do you recommend as someone that's more? This
is something I've thought about a lot, because like I'm actually an avid psychedelic introducer to other people. I've introduced a bunch of people to psychedelics, and it is like, so it depends on whether you've ever tried any other mind-altering substances. If you've drunk like before weed? Or weed, right? You know what it's like to be in an altered state of consciousness on some level, which is different, right? Like, you have to be able to first be kind of like used to that. But you don't have to do weed or like alcohol to like start psychedelics, right? Because it's different. It won't prepare you for it. They're just different things. But I don't know. I have like a controversial opinion. I think a small dose of DMT is hard to get. It's like it's the best introduction to psychedelics actually. So other psychedelics like psychedelic mushrooms or LSD are very long lasting. They last like 8 hours, 10 hours, and they're intense.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And you're committed to them. As soon as you pop it in your mouth, you're committed. You're
you
locked
can't throw up. You can't fucking.
Yeah. And like if at some point in the middle, like, oh shit, I don't want to do this anymore. You're locked in. It's too bad, man. But on DMT only lasts like 5-10 minutes, and if you take a small dose, you won't like completely
zone out
the universe, but like you'll be able to appreciate how strong, how meaningful these experiences can be, but be back in like 5 minutes and like, okay, I'm back to normal now. Okay, that was kind of crazy.
It's a low risk thing, I guess.
Yeah, but DMT on higher doses is definitely like you need some experience to take a higher dose of DMT. it's some freaky shit. DMT is the weirdest, most fascinating substance.
Do you think you've done a high dose, or do you think you've still in like?
I'm too scared. I've had friends like first time who are like more ballsy than me. Like maybe not first or second time, they just go straight for a first really high dose, and not for DMT first time, but they've done it with psychedelics and like let me just go for the full. I'm just scared. I don't know. I have a little hard time letting go of things sometimes, which is a skill you really need, like to let go and just let the experience. Let it happen. Try not to control things. Like just let the experience be what it is. But it's hard to do. It's difficult. It's easier said than done, especially in normal life too, right? Like sometimes like things bother us. Someone at work made us angry or something. We just can't let go. Fuck that dude. You know? and it's like sometimes you just gotta fuck it, whatever.
I think my life. That's actually you brought up a really good point. Is that I think a lot of people are worried about psychedelics. This is like one, they haven't experienced it, right? So they're not sure what it's like. Yeah. They're like, oh, if I don't have control over this, like it could go really badly. Or like, I like the feeling of control of having like my full, use of my like brain and like motor functions. But what if I do this shit and it's just like I lose control and I can't get it back, or they don't like that feeling.
That's why you should have a trip sitter, right?
That's exactly.
Someone to watch over you, and like as soon as when you have someone watching over you, someone you really trust. Like you can kind of let go. It's easier because like they're looking out for you.
Right. I think that is important. Yeah. To have someone that you trust when you do it.
Yeah. Someone you like really trust. Like you can't. It shouldn't just be like a random friend.
Yeah.
Like,
someone that knows you well, for sure. I think helps too.
Also, someone that's okay with the idea. Some people are like because drugs are taboo, right? In our world, in our countries.
Unfortunately.
So like someone was like, "Oh, you're doing that? That's illegal. That's weird. Why would you ever do drugs?"
What's the reason for drugs being illegal?
What's the what?
I guess that's a broad question, but
the reason?
Why are they illegal?
Well, I mean, the war on drugs was against black people and like poor people.
It's a long history. Yeah, it's a freaking crazy. It's like, did you watch that documentary, The 13th? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that's.
I knew about that shit before, but
that's where I learned it. But the war on drugs, because the psychedelics were actually like. People are doing serious scientific research on psychedelics in the 60s and 50s.
Crazy.
So like LSD was like invented in 1945, but other psychedelics have been existed for like thousands of years. But like psychedelic research really took off in 1945 to like 1970, and there was so much research. Like it was like the hip thing to be doing. Like just like AI is like hip to be working in CS. Like you're working in machine learning. You're pretty cool. Like psychedelics and psychology and neuroscience. So like you're doing some really cutting edge research back then.
Yeah.
But then the 60s happened, and the social revolution got a hand of psychedelics and started using it to like kind of spread messages that are like anti-government.
Yeah.
And the government was like, we need to suppress this. And
that's a really good point. If you don't mind me interjecting, it's like a lot of these psychedelics are like kind of anti-system and the anti like institutions and like how we normally see things. So when you have like this institution like the government or like whatever, like the introduction of this kind of mind-altering drug is sort of antithetical to their existence.
Right. Because you need the people to believe in you to have power over them.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they're like, wait, who are you? You don't like fucking control me. Like I'm my independent human living in this universe. Like.
But then it starts getting like what I'm afraid of. It starts getting to like I feel like it starts getting to the realm of like conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? I don't know. It sounds kind of wacky.
There's definitely a lot of conspiracy theories.
There's a little bit of truth to it.
Yeah.
Are psychedelics addictive?
I would say they're anti-addictive. They're not addictive in the same way like that or
nicotine or something.
Nicotine. Like I've been addicted to shit. Like I'm an obsessive person. I've been addicted to video games. I've been addicted to a lot of stuff.
So
caffeine.
I mean, there's a difference. So a lot of people when they think of addiction, they think of like the chemical addiction, like nicotine or I don't know if alcoholism is considered addictive. I guess
I feel like you can be alcoholic.
Yeah, but like there's also then the behavioral addiction, which are more like what you said, like video games or other things that like you really want to do, but if you stop it, you're not gonna start like jittering and like have any chemical reaction towards the not having that behavior. So they're definitely neither. I don't know. I mean, they could be considered behaviorally addictive, I guess. As much as weed is. Like, I mean, it's not.
I feel like for most people, it's anti-addictive. Like most people, when they have a powerful experience, aren't gonna want to jump right back into it.
Yeah, it does drain a lot.
Yeah, like it's unsettling and it's like you have a lot to process. You're like, what the fuck just happened?
You don't want to keep doing that. Yeah.
But then again, you can be addicted to anything. Like
Yeah.
Like if for certain type of people that are just like really drawn to those types of experiences,
Right.
like where they really like just going to this ethereal place, maybe they'll like do it more often than other people.
I think the real downside, beside that, it is not addiction, but related to that idea of like repeated usage, is that like, let's say any psychedelic or DMT or whatever, but more like LSD or shrooms, like if you do that shit too often, like more than once a week, or I don't know what they recommended, whatever it is, like you'll start to lose touch with reality, and like there'll be real life like consequences kind of, or side effects, like, oh, you're gonna lose your job, oh, you're gonna like lose touch with your family because you've been doing these psychedelics at such a rapid rate that you're like fucking always like confused about shit. You know?
Also, it might stop even working because like they build up you build up a tolerance pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But these are, I mean, obviously these are dangerous substances in the sense they're powerful. They have like they're not something that you can just take them randomly. But like
it's not
they're not as like demons as society has made them out to be. They're not like heroin is bad. Meth, you shouldn't do meth. Like
that's
don't do
very
meth.
addictive. One time is more than enough.
Exactly. Like it'll fuck up your life completely. And even opiates, like you shouldn't do Percocets or fucking like even like Xanax. Xanax is fucking addictive.
You shouldn't recreationally do it.
Yeah. Recreationally, exactly. But psychedelics, they're not addictive in the same way those are.
Yeah.
And they might change your life positively. It's not a guarantee, but it might change your views about things that kind of make you feel bad about reality. But then you're like, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I was just looking at it wrong the entire time.
Yeah. When do you think?
Or it could make you more cynical.
Or it could be more cynical, yeah. But I've noticed
and I think it's more of a reflection of like who you are. Like it's because people like a really popular thing of like people saying their trip experiences and stuff like that. And like that's a thing. It's like since it is just like a mind altering drug, it's like a mind is so fucking complex.
Yeah.
Like it might be bringing out stuff. Like if you're like already sort of leaning towards like conspiracy theories and everyone's working against you, that shit's gonna be maybe not worse, but it's gonna be heightened. Like you're gonna be like, oh shit, there's like a bigger conspiracy actually.
Oh, for sure. And also if you're like slightly psychotic, like if you have if you're schizophrenic, if you have psychotic syndromes, don't take psychedelics. It'll fuck you up even further. Like your mind is already altered a little bit. Like you shouldn't take it. You shouldn't jump over the edge.
Yeah. You want to take a roll of dice and see how this goes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and what I was thinking, I don't know if I even started saying it, but like, so I think my first psychedelic experience was acid last year at Bonnaroo, which is really cool. But like, I was thinking like, and I think male brains developed on like 25th, or that's like the major, until you're 25, that's your major like not neurological or whatever, brain changes or brain development. Like, do you think there's a point like, I don't know if you want like your middle schooler taking a fucking psychedelic, right?
Yeah.
Like when do you think like if someone's a younger like listener or something and they're like in high school or something, do you like, yeah, you should try psychedelics?
Definitely not. I feel like,
and obviously this is his opinion. This isn't like
this is just from my own like study, like just my own experiences, and like I've thought about it a lot because I'm just super interested and fascinated by them. But yeah, they're not something you should take when you're young because your mind is still developing these models. And you don't want to shake them up so violently right when like they're developing. Yeah. So like I think like after like you're in your 20s, like I feel like that's a pretty good, because you don't have any responsibilities also. Like once you have a family, you can't just drop acid.
DMT maybe. Yeah. A bum before you say goodbye.
Exactly.
Good night to your daughter.
Good night, honey.
Daddy's going away for 10 minutes.
Exactly. They used to call it the businessman's drug actually because it was so fast. It was like a nickname. Nobody actually ever calls it that.
I thought it was coke. Dude. I watched Wolf of Wall Street. I was like, definitely coke's in business.
Yeah. But it's DMT is trippy. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still a little bit scared. Definitely.
Yeah, I have some actually. I guess I have a little bit of hope, but I still haven't even used it that much. Don't bust into my apartment, cops, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, where you live, bro? No.
Exactly.
Nah, they're busy with the protests, bro. I don't give a fuck about you.
My boss watches this. You're fired. Good God, dude.
Like, I got new
Fucking man,
jobs
I'm gonna find another job. It's all good. I'm gonna take my DMT with me too.
New DMT
Wait, do
research.
companies, when they hire people, do they do like drug tests for psychedelics?
No, they don't, which is
No,
funny.
definitely
Yeah,
not psychedelics.
they're just checking for like drugs that'll fuck up your life, like heroin,
Dude,
cocaine, and meth, and like
yeah, not even weed or anything. Like,
weed they'll test because it's pretty common.
even for tech companies?
I don't know about tech companies.
Because I haven't been tested once for either of my companies.
Damn. Okay, never mind then. I know one of my friends got tested for like Capital One, but I guess it's not really a tech company.
Yeah. It depends on the company. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how long psychedelics are like actually in your system. That's the
Yeah,
other
it depends. DMT only like 30 minutes, but then LSD might last like 2-3 days in your system. But you want to feel the effects, obviously, but it'll be like trace amounts.
They could, yeah, they could find it with a test.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely companies aren't testing for psychedelics.
Yeah.
More, yeah, like what you said, the hard shit.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's surprising. DMT is the most interesting because like it lasts like 10 minutes, but like it disappears like after 30 minutes. There's like no trace amount in your body at all.
And then obviously your brain goes in, like I've never taken it.
Yeah.
Your brain goes into like a different place and shit. And it's also so short. Do you think like you feel like you've lived more in that 10 minutes than you have in a normal 10 minutes?
Yeah, I mean you took mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
So did you experience time being increased? Like time spans, like small time spans feel really long. Did you feel that?
Small time spans feel long.
Like
yeah,
time being elongated.
Yeah, especially like when you're watching a video or watching like a movie.
Yeah.
We didn't watch a movie, that'd be way too long. But watching like shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Shit definitely seemed like, whoa. Like even different parts of it. Like I watched Love, Death, and Robots, which is really trippy, really kind of dark. For the most part, really dark view on a lot of things.
It's like Black Mirror.
And it can be, yeah. It's like Black Mirror, but like even wonkier because it's animated.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like, so they can take you a lot of places in a short amount of time. So I watched this one. I forgot the name of it. We watched Zima Blue. That was one of them, which is really cool. And then we watched one about like this half cat, half human spirit thing.
Oh, I remember that one. That was scary.
Dude, I watched that when I was tripping. It was like a very tripping part. It was like early trip on shrooms. And it was like, it felt like I was watching 3 different things. I was like, okay, first they start off in like this like Asian like remote village, and then they go off into like this industrialized world, and then there's also like all this like feminism, masculinity type thing tied in. And like I could not process it. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And like, how long is this goddamn show? Like, I need to get out of this.
It's like lasts the length of a normal Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, basically.
Although it's like 10 minutes.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's like just intensified like 100 times on like higher doses of DMT. Just that 5 minutes can feel like. I had a friend take it once who was like pretty like determined. You know, you need a little bit of determination when taking DMT.
Like
he's like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said it felt like 30 days. But I don't know how you measure that. Like,
what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
That's definitely Black Mirror
like
shit.
It felt like multiple days.
And the reason I brought that up is like that's really interesting that like our brain has that capacity, you know.
Yeah.
To like fucking go through all of that shit because it's all in your brain. It's not like
Exactly. Yeah, like a brain creates this like another thing going back to neuroscience. Like the reality you're experiencing right now is not what is actually out there. It's your brain's interface with reality.
Yeah.
It's like it's filtered. It's abstractized. You know, you see objects. You know, you don't see certain things, and it's your brain's best guess at what's out there, and it creates this reality that you experience as life.
Right.
And on DMT, it's like a channel switch on that, and it's like completely different. There's like nothing familiar is there. Not even notions of like space and time.
Jesus.
Like it's just freaky.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's so like it's not a drug that'll teach you anything. Like if you want to like learn new things about yourself, maybe try mushrooms. Like have a nice day with mushrooms. DMT, there's nothing you can really learn from it. I feel like, but it's just an interesting experience. It's like exhilarating too because it feels like you're on a roller coaster because there's so much is happening at the same time. Because it only lasts 5 minutes, this experience, and so much happens during it. It's just not enough time to process anything. It's just yeah. I have a very deep fascination with DMT. I don't do it that often, but it's an obsession. Like, I rarely ever do it anymore, even though I have some. But it's mostly out of like some level of fear and like I don't really feel a need to anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm still really interested in it, like just where it's going.
It's very fascinating. Yeah. What about you, Yue? I don't know if it's like, is it a lack of opportunity or like lack of interest or like?
Yeah, I guess both. I don't know anyone around me that's into psychedelics.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean, for me, I guess I shouldn't use it as like a crutch to find meaning in life,
Yeah.
but it does sound like it has the potential.
Yeah. I think it's best to not go with any set intentions for sure.
No, I feel like that's.
Or you think that's not true?
I think intention is important if you're doing these substances. It's
Okay.
like if you don't do them with intention, then you can like not in terms of like finding meaning, but like you want to have something to guide you. But that's more like just taking psychedelics. Like you know how you should have a trip setter and you should do this in a safe environment. You should have some level of intention. It doesn't have to be a deep, meaningful one, but like something to like just go back to like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because this is why I'm doing this, or this is what I want to like think about. But
Oh, really?
But I know I agree with you. Like you shouldn't use these to find meaning in life. Like meaning in life, like this, like life is a trip. You know, like your life as from birth to death. That's the trip. That's the journey you're on. But I don't know. It's a way to like just if you're a person that's curious about like life and what different, you know, different ways of viewing reality can exist. It's just interesting to take. You don't take it to like fix something or find meaning in life. It won't give you meaning in life. You know, it won't if you look for it. It's you might end up with it. It doesn't say it won't, like if you
won't take you there.
You know, you won't. But if you're actively like, this is what I want, it won't work out like that.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to like just look at the world in a different way, though.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I think you'd like it, Yue. Yeah. I don't know, like a starter one. I've only done acid once in Bonnaroo, which a lot of people like to do acid in like more isolated settings, not in a music festival. And then I've done shrooms recently. I'm probably gonna do them again for sure. Acid again, I'll probably do. I definitely liked my shrooms experience more than my acid one though.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was just like circumstance. That's the other thing that's really cool about psychedelics is like if you do weed or obviously alcohol, like you know the feeling. It's gonna be like relatively the same experience for you each time.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these psychedelics, because like your brain is such in a constant state of like flux basically. Like it really changes your experience if you're like in a certain state when you take it, or a certain environment too, versus another state, another environment.
Yeah, it's different every time. I feel like you would like it because you're a scientist. So, like people that are like just innately curious about things, just because they just enjoy learning about things. It's just deep enjoyment.
I mean, I've always like thought like I mean I think to anyone it would be interesting to like if only just like be aware of the fact, hyper aware of the fact that you're thinking. That enough is pretty interesting. But if you're able to like think things in a different way, that's like I think that's like I think I can't imagine anyone not being interested in that.
Yeah, there's this really cool analogy that psychologists use to describe, like if you imagine your mind as a hill covered with snow, your thoughts are kind of like sleds that go down the snow, and over time you have a lot of the similar thoughts. If you watch your mind enough, you'll see like you're always saying the same shit over and over again. Like you're thinking about similar things, but like your mind tends to follow like similar tracks, and over time it creates a groove. And if you have like a new thought, it eventually ends down that groove. And like the deeper that groove is, it's hard to get out of. And like psychedelics are kind of like a new fresh snow. It's not that you have crazy wild thoughts. It's just that your thoughts start wandering. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird phenomenon.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really see that, especially in like when you look at your parents or like your old professors who tell like the same 3 jokes, and then you like ask someone that took that class next year, it's like, oh, did you do this joke? You're like, yeah, I did that joke.
This is from personal experience.
Yeah, like I had this one teacher. I love him. He's great. I like still talk to him this day, and like he says like, "Oh yeah, you need to catch me up over email more often." I'm like, all right, but and he's like, I had him for 2 different classes, and I think I was the only one from what I remember that was in both of those classes.
Yeah.
And like he would tell the same jokes on this like in each of his classes, so I'd like have to fake laugh the second time, kind of. I mean, they weren't bad jokes. It's just like I've already But I think that kind of speaks to what you're saying. It's like kind of like an old dog that doesn't know.
I just like, to me it just seems incredulous, like how something can change the way you think. I mean, I really like to be proven wrong, but I'm just like in a state of suspense. Like, cannot believe something like that exists.
So what are your thoughts, right? Like what, like the things that you're experiencing as thoughts, what are they produced by? Like what is the thing that is causing them?
I don't know. If I knew, I would like
electrical, like neurochemical
Yeah.
interactions, and it just comes in there and changes that. Just like alcohol does the same thing, right? You change you're not like, when people take alcohol, they're not as anxious, right?
Well, I think it affects your brain differently because a lot of the alcoholic depressants or accelerants, they affect the some sort of
GABA,
receptor shit,
yeah.
right?
GABA receptors.
Yeah. Like that's not what psychedelics do though.
No,
right?
they're like
biochemically different.
Yeah, like alcohol suppresses certain thoughts, certain receptors, right? Or certain, like, I don't know, I forgot the word. Connections between neurons, like certain waves in your brain that produce anxiety or like energetic emotions.
Yeah.
And psychedelics enhance everything, and it also increases connection between certain parts of your brain that don't normally talk to each other, like physically, because you start talking to each other. Like your visual cortex starts communicating with your auditory cortex, and you might experience as synesthesia. Synesthesia is when you can see sound. I've actually experienced that once. It was freaky.
Really?
Yeah, like my friend was playing the piano, and each note he would play would be like a bright color. I would see my visual field.
Whoa.
And I don't really know notes, but like each distinct note would have a different color, and it would be like a.
Dude, I have a high premonition that I would see that. I would like see the same thing if I did psychedelic.
You think your synesthesia, like pre-synesthesia, you're like primed for it, dude?
Dude, because I play a lot of rhythm games, so a lot of times I like, even now I can, if I hear a song, I'll see like the note pattern.
I'm dead.
It's so ingrained.
There's this connection with you. Like, you've seen them so many.
Yeah.
Dude, that'll be so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yo, he's gonna do psychedelics right after this podcast ends. He's gonna like, go on Craigslist.
Synesthesia.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, why do people not like why do, I guess there's like
it's a lot of social. Yeah.
They've been demonized, definitely. Like, there was like a huge campaign from 1975 when like the DEA was invented and the anti-drug war, like the drug war started, to like present day of like, just don't do drugs. There's a good message in there, like certain drugs will fuck up your life, don't do them, but like don't for example, Tylenol, nobody knows how it works, like, actually, but Tylenol works. The people know that one of the side effects is anti-inflammation and pain relief, and it doesn't kill you if you don't take too much, but Tylenol will kill you if you take too much. It'll give you liver failure. And psychedelics there's no lethal dose. Like, you can don't take that much. Like, don't take like 100 hits of acid, but it won't kill you. And they're not as bad as society is deemed to be.
Yeah, it's definitely like an upsurge of like their acceptance. And I think I heard in some like county in Colorado, which is like me and you grew up there, and we went to high school, but they like legalized some psychedelics or something.
Oh yeah, Colorado. Yeah,
they're starting to legalize some like psychedelics. So I think it's trending upwards for sure in terms of like acceptance.
How can a county legalize something by itself?
Yeah, which is weird.
Bro, that whole government shit, I don't fucking know, dude. It's like weed is like illegal federally, but legal in some, like, a lot of states now, I guess.
Washington.
Yeah, and Colorado, bro. And it's just like, yeah, dude, that interplay, I'm not even qualified to make any statement towards those.
Bro, what even is government? I don't know.
Dude, I know, bro.
Wait, So by that logic, you can have federally weed is legal, but then in Colorado it's legal, but then in a county in Colorado it could be illegal.
I'm not sure about counties, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just kind of said that. It might have just been like a city or it might have been statewide. Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah. I know like somewhere in California, they legalized all psychedelics. Orange County or something. They just legalized.
It was a
psychedelics.
county? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then I don't know how that uphold that. Like, what if the Fed is like, yo,
Yeah.
like, nah, bro, you can't do that.
Like, I thought federal was always like, dude, I don't know.
But there's been a trend though, like, because psychedelics are also humans and psychedelics have such an intimate history. People don't know about this.
Oh, like peyote and like all the ancient ones.
Humans have been using psychedelics for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Literally thousands of years. There's like real evidence that people use it in ancient Egypt, ancient Greece.
Oh, really?
It's and not a lot of that history actually took. So it depends on the psychedelic. So psychedelic mushrooms can grow anywhere actually. So it's true that people, found these substances, because mushrooms just, if you leave out like some manure, psychedelic mushrooms will eventually grow on those. So people found these, ate them, had these experiences. And some people actually think like religious, this goes off into like hypotheses, like people just crazy ideas with maybe like religion, like where do people get these crazy ideas? Like, oh yeah, there's a God out there, right?
Stuff.
People have these crazy visions. I saw God, and this is what he told me, and now you have to listen. And like, maybe,
you're just tripping, dog.
Maybe those people are taking mushrooms. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think there's some truth in that. Maybe not all religions or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like a lot of these visions are like, when you hear them described, and obviously like these are long ago and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I guess Joseph Smith is like, of Mormonism, had a relatively recent vision or whatever, but like they just, if you hear them describe and you describe to someone who's like familiar with psychedelics, like they'll be like, oh yeah, it sounds like a trip. It sounds like someone just had like some weird vision shit and they thought about this thing differently.
Yeah. You ever think computers will be conscious? Just
a soft left turn here.
Like conscious in the way we were thinking about it before. I don't know if you want to like continue talking about psychedelics.
No, I think we beat that horse pretty well.
But it's something I've been thinking about.
I thought about that earlier too.
Like,
during this podcast.
Are conscious just like animals are conscious, right? They're not that crazy smart. But like computers are really, really smart. They're smarter than in the sense that they do things. They can do calculations that humans can't just do in that span of time. And now they're able to do things that we didn't think computers could previously do, like make art on some level, right? And
building on that question though, like, do you think we need to understand consciousness before we create it?
Yeah.
Or do you think we'll create it and be like, oh shit, that didn't think that was gonna work?
It's such a weird thing to understand because we're in it and we're trying to understand it from here. It's strange.
I definitely think we'll build something that like is indistinguishable from the real thing before understanding it. I think that's more, at least in my mind, that's more likely.
That's going to be a great business. Also, like, I can imagine some businesses. But also, that's going to be kind of scary, too. Like, what if at some point, like, that technology is so developed, like, it can just grow on its own and, like, innovate on its own and do its own thing.
Have its own communities of, like, other consciousnesses?
Yeah, like, our technology becomes just self-improving. It just becomes its own thing we can study.
Yeah.
Dude, I just think it's just like people are just too optimistic about that stuff. Like I wish that day would happen. Like, damn, I can just sit at home and not do anything. But like, come on, I think it's just too far fetched.
Well, what if 1,000 years from now, literally like maybe not within our lifetimes, but like 10,000 years from now, 100,000 years from now?
That's too hard. That like I think. It's possible a new universe starts in that amount of time. Like anything can happen, right? Like it's too hard to make predictions that far into the future.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what thing you're trying to predict. Like we can predict where the moon is going to be in 100,000 years. Pretty exactly.
Or the number of like what's the Murphy's law? Like gates transistors on a silicon disk per inch or something.
Oh, silicon. Oh, what transistors?
It's like a density. It's like number of transistors on like a square inch.
Oh, the Moore's law or something.
I think it's Murphy's. Oh, is it Moore's?
Murphy's
Moore's law? Okay.
Yeah.
Murphy's law, like whatever bad can happen will happen.
Interstellar. Did you watch that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love Interstellar. Interstellar's great, dude. I think Christopher Nolan makes, bro. Tenet, I can't wait to watch Tenet.
Dude, it's delayed. I'm so sad.
Fucking Corona, bro. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, the consciousness thing is weird, especially with like AI and consciousness, or just like artificial consciousness.
I agree with you. Like machine learning, like AI is nowhere near that capability.
Yeah.
It's like once you learn a little bit about it, you just realize there's some regression and some optimization.
Yeah, it's literally just applied statistics.
It's literally just some statistics.
Yeah.
Wait, but I mean, if it's just something like on an individual level, you understand well. Like if it gets to like such a scale that you're not able to like
predict,
like you're not able to understand the parts, like you understand the parts, but you don't understand how they interact with each other.
Yeah. At
that point, it will be like pretty hard to tell from the real thing. Like if you build it in the right way.
Yeah.
But it's really like your brain is a very, very complex network of simple things interacting with each other, right?
Yeah.
So
I think decoding the brain is gonna help a lot towards, creating consciousness for sure.
Yeah. For some part of me, I think like the fact that you're like, like consciousness, the way I might try to describe it is defined as like, why aren't we, there's the hard problem, there's the easy problem consciousness, and then it's like a term.
Easy problem?
Easy problem consciousness is, like perceptual things, like, we can perceive things, and that's like we perceive things in conscious world, right? Like conscious reality, we have perceptions of things, and we, I don't know how to articulate it, but that's one aspect. There's other aspects, like you perceive things in the world. That's like part of consciousness. You're conscious of things. You're aware of things.
Okay.
But the other part of the hard problem consciousness is that why are we aware of ourselves in the fact that why aren't we just robots? You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah.
Like people for a long time thought animals are just robots. Like they're just doing their thing. Like why aren't we philosophical zombies?
Yeah.
Right. That's like the hard problem. Like why is there this experiential part of being alive?
Yeah. And like on that point, I think I was talking to someone and she's pulling this from Sapiens. If you've heard of that book, it's like this really big book about like anthropology, and goes through like early man to like industrial revolution, Bronze Age, like really like kind of like an anthropology like timeline basically.
Yeah.
And they say like a lot of like anthropologists and like psychologists will like agree, probably psychologist wasn't the right word, but like that there was a certain point where like humans weren't conscious, and it's like somewhere in the Bronze Age we developed consciousness, which is like a really interesting thing.
Wait, the book, there's a book about that, right? It's by Julian something. Ah, fuck. Forget the name.
You have Google open, right?
The like breakdown of the bicameral mind or something.
Oh, that sounds kind of familiar.
Wait, what's it called?
Breakdown of the bicameral mind or something.
Oh, bicameral.
Sounds really familiar.
I'll post it in chat.
Okay. You should also say you found it?
Yeah. It's by Julian James.
Julian James, huh? And he talks about that?
I read part of it. But yeah, he basically said our social structure reached a density at the collapse of the Bronze Age for humans to develop consciousness.
Our social structure, what?
So like our social structure developed to a point where either it was necessary or it was we were ready to become like aware of the fact that we're conscious.
So it's like an environmental thing.
Yeah.
Or it's a social thing, yeah, environmental.
Right.
And he like documents like how, books from before this age were use language that doesn't suggest that we were conscious, and afterwards it became more like our modern writing style, and a lot of other things like that.
That's crazy.
Also language, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like you didn't even need language until
like
you were surrounded by the people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I mean, that's kind of interesting. Like, is that how we should approach like creating consciousness? Like, just like put a bunch of AIs in Club Penguin and just wait till they form these social structures where they need to develop consciousness.
Global warming destroyed Club Penguin, so.
Wait, what? Global warming destroyed Club
Yeah,
Penguin?
it's no more, man. It's
Really?
gone. It's a thing of the past now.
I feel like you can try that, but what they develop might not be the same thing as what we have, or even in the same class of things. I feel like consciousness is just one thing, one solution out of many that allowed humans to like
Oh, that's
not
really interesting.
be extinct.
What if it's just a byproduct? So nature doesn't always, like, a lot of our features aren't directly products of trying to find a solution. So a lot of our
I mean, that's exactly my point. Like it was one way for us to not become extinct, right? Or like it was just like the fact that we're alive is because we had this thing called consciousness. But if you put some AIs in Club Penguin or some like some game like some World of Warcraft type situation, they might develop like some other like hive mind or group structure, social structure that's very different from consciousness.
That's an interesting idea.
Or like eusocial structure, like, you know, like insects and stuff.
Yeah.
You ever think about it? We're like all in, like, there's like this, like, humans aren't smart in the fact that we're not like, we don't like.
Speak for yourself, dude. No.
Yeah, bro. Going back. But humans aren't smart in like the fact that, like, oh, an individual human can't do that much. Like you can't build them. Like if you just put a human with no connection to the rest of the humanity, they can't do that much shit. They'll just die. We're not strong. Maybe we can think of some tools to like do some stuff. Maybe you can get by, but you won't prosper.
Yeah.
But like humans only really prosper with other people. Maybe it's like just the fact that
all right,
we're
commie.
so.
No.
Huh?
All right, commie.
Commie? Oh shit,
Communist.
yeah, bro. Socialist outing. This is my socialist outing, dude. But yeah, maybe it's like, you ever notice there's like a collective like body of knowledge, like that's being carried through humanity, and we're all just like drawing from it, and we're putting to it, and it's just being pushed through history, and you're just part of the wave, and the wave is like the body of knowledge.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, yeah, that brings another point I wanted to talk about, but that's kind of not related. Well, it's kind of related.
Go for it.
You guys have heard of the Chinese room, right?
The Chinese room?
Yeah.
No.
No, I haven't heard of it.
So I didn't get raised by two Chinese parents, so I don't know about the Chinese
well,
room.
I did actually.
It's a thought experiment by John Searle. It's like a famous psychologist. But anyway, the story goes that, you know, one day you come across this room, and there's like a window or like an opening in the room, right? And then you can pass in messages to it, and then you're Chinese, so you write. I don't know exactly how it goes, but this is the idea. You're Chinese, so you write Chinese on a piece of paper, and then you put it in, and then sometime later you get a message back to respond what you said, the response to what you said. But inside the room, what is actually happening is that there is an American person that doesn't know any Chinese, and he just takes the message and looks up like each character through a dictionary and constructs an English response, and then translates that through the dictionary to a Chinese response and pass it back.
Oh.
And
what's the point of this?
I forget if it's actually a person inside or if it's just a machine inside. But anyways, you think that, oh, you're talking to a Chinese person, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you would notice, like if you were the Chinese person, like you would notice there's like your responses, the questions you're asking, the responses you're getting, like wouldn't be typical.
Okay, maybe you're an American, so you don't know any better.
Oh, wow.
But you're trying to talk.
Yeah.
The point of this thought experiment is just to think about like whether this room is actually conscious. If it's able to produce responses that are like indistinguishable from a normal person, but inside the process of it, whether it be another person who doesn't know Chinese or a machine that automatically like translates between the languages, right? Google Translate. Like, is that thing conscious or not?
But the question is that a measure of consciousness at all? Because you're trying to like that in that scenario, we're trying to see if we can distinguish the activity of one thing that's conscious versus the activity of something that we know. Let's say we know isn't.
No. Let's assume that the machine is like perfect, indistinguishable, or like the person that's operating, like handing the paper, has perfect translation skills.
Well, let's look at a subset of that problem, right? Let's look at one. Let's say it's perfect in the sense that it can do a bunch of different things, right? It can like do all the things a human can do, right? And it's indistinguishable in that sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like from the outside, it looks exactly like a human. But let's look at one thing a human can do, and let's say it does that perfectly as well. Let's say it's like detect making music, right? It can make, I don't know, that's a hard thing to like measure. Like, well, like what's a task that humans like and people can both humans can do really well and
okay. I mean, I guess I kind of told the story a bit wrong, but I think one of the John was trying to make is that, like, just considering the task of responding to text messages, just that one task. If inside the room, like if inside the room it was a machine that was taking your message and responding,
Yeah.
is the fact that that thing is not a biological process preventing it from being a conscious system as a whole?
I don't think so.
but then we have NLP like that can do that, right? Like maybe as it gets better it can be such good like natural language processing system that it's just indistinguishable from human responses. But that at that point we would be able to look at the background and see the statistics and shit, you know.
I don't think consciousness is uniquely biological. I think it definitely could be something that's man-made or like virtual, I guess. And the other thing is like, I know we talked about like consciousness being brought up because of like social structures, but do you think like absence of social structures, let's say like I just locked myself in a room, right?
Yeah.
And I guess there's actually both like kids locked in a room, you know, until they're like 18 or whatever. Like that thing's still conscious, right? Even though it's not making these interactions and it wouldn't pass any Turing tests because there's no other thing it's talking to.
Actually, that's a good question.
It'd still be considered conscious, right? Like even with absence of like interactions with any other conscious beings.
Well, they called her Jeannie the feral child. There was like a girl called Jeannie, like that was like held by her parents in a dark room in a chair, like until she was 12 or something. And she acted like, well, like they called her feral because she acted like an animal in the sense like she would just be like
she wasn't.
I don't know if I don't know if she wasn't conscious. I'm just saying like
she acted way differently.
She acted really strange, yeah. But then maybe this is because, you know, she wasn't used to like normal social structures. And eventually, I don't know if she like completely like, you know, reintegrated, but.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the situation that made her being in a dark room or something?
You guys are fucked up or something?
Fucked up parents, yeah. Completely fucked up parents.
I mean, the parents being fucked up is one thing, but that provided a really valuable test subject for psychology.
Yeah, for sure. No, everybody references that. It's one of the most referenced, like cited, like things in psychology.
Like if humans were just a bit more fucked up, I think we would get a lot more done in psychology.
100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. Our moral code and ethical code is definitely holding us back in a lot of human test trial shit.
But then
that's why we need to create humans or like clones or something that we can convince people doesn't have a soul and shit.
Yeah.
Like not woman boy.
Cloning is like pretty forbidden, right?
What'd you say?
What's even forbidden? Like cloning is pretty forbidden by most morals.
Wait, what is cloning? Yeah, cloning.
Yeah. That's why we need to get something that's not cloning. That's something that like we're able to do these fucking human testing.
Maybe one day like our like simulations will be so like great that we can just simulate it. I don't know.
And then bringing up simulation theory real quickly.
Oh shit! Right, to simulate the entire.
Are we all like in a simulation?
Just an experiment.
Are we base reality, bro?
Yeah. That kind of question is not that interesting. Like,
no, I agree because I would change literally nothing if this was like umpteenth reality. Like I don't give a fuck. I'm not going into the other realities. Their existence matters nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like the problem is that there's no way of like testing your results, right?
It's a
Yeah.
meaningless question.
Think about
Yeah.
it. It's possible.
That's actually an issue in physics now because physics has become so abstract.
Yeah.
There's parts of physics, although they seem like real physics, you could never test them. You're like, is that even scientific anymore?
Yeah.
It's string theory, for example. Yeah, like you couldn't even test. There's just like the experiments you can make in the future, even far in the future, come nowhere near to testing string theory.
Yeah.
But like theoretically, is it observable?
Like the reason people have trust in it is because it's like built on like the way people do theoretical physics is like there's physics we already know that works really well, and you just extend it.
Yeah.
Like whatever's true, based on this, what else is true, and it works in describing it. So that people create a string theory to try to merge gravity with quantum physics, and it does it pretty well, where you can still maintain the two but have them under the same umbrella. So that's why people trust it. Like it works mathematically, but people don't know if the underlying basis behind why it works is true because you can't test it.
Because we're in this reality.
Or because our technology isn't good enough to test it, or might not ever be good enough to test it.
Like what would we need to test string theory?
Because it's so like the ideas it has, so it predicts that.
Also, can you do a quick like overview of string theory?
Yeah. So the standard. So right now in physics, the current accepted model for matter is something called a standard model. Like what is stuff? Well, the standard model says that there's 12 fundamental particles in the universe, and they create every other larger stuff we have. There's like electrons, there's protons, neutrons. There's also stuff. Well, not protons, neutrons. There's quarks. Quarks create protons and neutrons, but nothing creates an electron.
It's like the building blocks.
Exactly,
right?
And nothing creates quarks.
Yeah,
quarks are the building.
They're indivisible.
Exactly, but then string theory is like, nah, bro. There might be other things below those. Things called strings, and these strings, when they vibrate in specific frequencies, and whether they're connected or not, looped, creates these particles. Like an electron.
Like out of nothing, basically.
That's what they are. Like the electron is really a string that's like vibrating a specific frequency. And and you can't test it because according to the model, these strings are so tiny. Like
it's smaller than Planck's like length or something?
Well, I don't really know. They're on the order of Planck's length. Yeah, they're on the order of Planck. They're so ridiculously tiny. And in physics, when you want to look at tiny things, the more higher resolution you want to look at, the more energy you need. So like for like the Large Hadron Collider, it has something called a ton of energy. So the bigger the collider, the more energy you can get when you spin around these particles. Yeah. And the more energy you get, the more bang you get, the tinier particles come out. And the tinier you can look into these particles.
Interesting.
So if to have a collider that can detect the particles, detect the strings that are in string theory, you need a collider the size of the solar system.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And
we can do that.
There's just physically you might, but there's also not enough matter in the solar system. Like there's just not enough matter like to make it. Like you would run out if you took all the material from Earth and all the planets on the asteroids, you just wouldn't have enough stuff. Yeah. You would just run out. So that's why people like, maybe it's not even science, because like it's not a science. You can't refute it. And it's like, like what are you going back to? Like you can't refute the fact that maybe we are in a simulation, maybe we aren't. We'll never know. Maybe there is like 10,000 Hitlers behind this wall, and every time I look behind me, it just disappears. But I can't like, they're just certain statements that are just like irrefutable. Right.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, right? As long as string theory still works, who cares?
Yeah. Well, no. Then you need in science you need observation. Otherwise, you can't. You need to be guided by observation, right? Like it works mathematically in the sense that it's like it's consistent, but like whether the model is true, you need observation, or else you can't like.
But I mean, I think that's what you were saying. Like, as long as it's consistent, who gives a fuck if that's like actually right?
That's where math and physics is first, like science differs. Like math, everything just needs to be logically consistent. Yeah. But in physics, you need that logical consistency also to relate to reality, like through observation. It can't just be logically consistent, because you can have thousands of different logical systems that are consistent, but only one will describe reality.
Gotcha.
Feel like you can't have a logically consistent. Or can you? Okay, I guess like Euclidean geometry is consistent.
Yeah.
It doesn't describe like, surface of a sphere or something.
Right.
I feel like that's not quite close.
Like, I know where you're going to though. Like certain thing that's like math that's kind of like abstract and logically consistent. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah. But like, is there like a consistent? Okay, that doesn't really make any sense. But like, what's a consistent mathematical system or theory that does not describe reality?
Like Tarski paradox. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah.
It's like,
what's that?
The idea is like so if you have a set of points that describes the surface of a sphere or something,
Mm-hmm.
you can split that set. So you can take one sphere and convert it into 3 spheres, and identical spheres. So like from one thing, you can make 3 identical copies of that thing, and it's logically consistent by taking all the points in that sphere and then doing some like manipulation of them and putting them back together, and you have 3 copies of the original thing, but you only start off with one thing.
Okay.
I mean, the point of that is like we're on a slippery road because the original sphere is not even describing a real sphere.
Yeah, that's also true.
In real life, you can't, like the proof requires it, like you divide it into like infinitesimally small points, right? That's not possible in real life.
That's also true. Like physics doesn't describe exact reality too, right? It's a mathematical model that's logically consistent.
Yeah, so I don't really know what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, me neither, honestly. I have no fucking idea.
I guess Banach-Tarski paradox is a pretty like visceral example of where like ZFC axioms depart from actual reality.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, but ZFC posits like an infinite set. So already we're like in a bind.
Yeah. Do you think like infinite anything exists in our universe?
Maybe infinite time.
Infinite time?
I don't know about that one. Maybe time one day will also see, or time will one day cease to exist in our universe, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing?
Because time, like the idea of time we have so far, like why does time go forward, has to do with the fact that there's entropy in the universe, and entropy, like all the equations of physics are symmetric across time. Like if you reverse time, it looks the same. Like if you throw a ball in the air, it falls this way, and if you play the video backwards, it looks the same the other way.
Yeah.
But certain processes are asymmetric with time. Like if I break the cup, if I bake a cake, I can't just reverse it. It only works in one direction.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be, in the end, entropy in our universe is increasing, right? It's asymmetric. One day it'll be such that it's maximal when there's no matter in our universe anymore, and the universe is completely homogeneous, and nothing will happen in our universe anymore. There will be no,
because it's max disorder, right?
Yeah. There's nothing. There will be nothing nothing will be happening, and there's no sense of time anymore. What direction is forward if nothing happens?
Jesus.
But that's like really far.
We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But that does mean that there's like an end of time, right?
Yeah, which is fucking, not even time itself. It's gonna be around forever.
So by that, you mean that time requires like an observation to exist?
Well, I think he says like there has to be a difference.
Time requires like there needs to be a difference between right now and a moment later, right? Or things need to happen.
What if just hypothetically, like the entire universe froze right now? Like, will time stop as well?
Oh shit. I guess that's how, like, I guess maybe it comes down to like how we, because like time, distance, these are things like humans have put onto reality. Like this is a meter, right? Like this distance here.
This is a second.
Time is like, so the way people like measure time, like what is a second? First had to do with like pendulums, like how long does a 1 meter pendulum take to swing from here to here?
Right.
And then now it's like the way we define a second is like vibrations of calcium or some shit. I don't know. But like
I doubt it's calcium.
Yeah.
Wait, but okay, so even then, like time as a concept still exists, right? Like after we reach max entropy.
But it wouldn't be a plot.
Because then we wouldn't there would be no one, like there would be a universe where it's completely homogeneous, there's no matter at all. there's nothing, like including us, we wouldn't be here, and there would be no events happening.
So like the concept of time would have existed, but it wouldn't like be applicable. Just like we would be, like humans and consciousness would be also a concept, but like in this universe at this state, like it means nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's I don't know actually. Now that I think about it deeper. Like,
Wait, I feel like time is one of those
yeah,
like
like
where like even in if it's possible as a concept, then it's possible in reality somehow.
What? That's not true. What the fuck? Unicorns exist as a concept, but they're not a fucking thing in reality.
as far as we know.
I mean, that's what I mean by time's a special thing in that sense.
Yeah.
And that it'll always exist because.
Again, we
that's
don't
a
really.
rough question.
Yeah, again, we don't really know like exactly how. That's like the current, I guess, understanding. Maybe it'll change in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just my gut feeling that kind of says it's weird if time doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's freaky. It's also like what happened before the Big Bang. Like it's a meaningless question because time, like as far as we know, like time could have been created. Like there's just like there's nothing north of the North Pole. There's nothing before the Big Bang.
Do we think like exists the concept of time outside of like our own universe? Like that's basically what you're saying, right? Like outside of Big Bang, then all this shit happened. Like before the Big Bang was like time a thing. Obviously, space we can agree on wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
But then does that mean time also is gone?
I don't know.
Love is love. No, I'm kidding.
Damn, but that's Interstellar. That's exactly what I was about to say. Interstellar shit, bro.
Yeah.
Wait, did you watch Interstellar?
I think I did, but I forgot most of it.
Yes.
You should watch it again, man. It's good shit.
I just remember it being very.
It is definitely corny.
Yeah, I feel you. It was a little bit corny. It was a little.
You just gotta look past the corniness, dude.
Yeah, like I usually don't like movies because they're too long, but I feel like for Interstellar, it's just like.
It is long.
Oh my god! You know a movie you would love? Oh my god! Watch Arrival. Arrival is like aliens, right? They come to Earth and humans try to communicate with them, and it's all about semantics and all about language. It's great.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
It's like they have such different languages. It's like, how do you even communicate?
Yeah, it's a hard question. I think even the usual cheeky answers of like using math is not gonna hold much water in that case.
Yeah. Also, like, how do you describe shit in math to someone like an alien? Be like, oh, these are our social structures. Okay.
Well, people try to.
2 + 2. Yeah.
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 No, I mean, like, have you heard of the New Horizons or some shit?
What's that?
The fucking not New Horizons. We sent out a satellite. I think it's like Voyager or something.
Oh, okay.
And they put a golden disc, and they're like, "What if aliens find it one day? How do we communicate with them?" And they use math symbols like dots.
Interesting.
Like here's what like the prime numbers, because the prime numbers somehow are significant or something. And they were like, okay, what's one thing they'll know about? They'll probably know what hydrogen is. And hydrogen, how do you represent hydrogen? 1 electron with that. And then they were like, this is the distance. And they'll know what the distance is of the size of that. So we can use that distance to say where we are. Like, okay, from this distance, we can build up, okay, this is how long this is. Okay, compared to all these other things, where are we in the universe?
This could be an advanced alien that fucking finds this shit.
Yeah. As long as they know math, like some basic.
Dude, they'll probably just fucking like throw it away. They'll be like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And just like burn it or something, or try to eat it.
Maybe the reason why we haven't like contacted like aliens is because we just threw away the evidence because it just seemed like like it just like didn't seem like communication to us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like, what's the difference between noise and communication, right?
But then there's also just like things that like, I mean, we know that like there's the electromagnetic spectrum, right? Like we're like constantly have these like SETI type shit.
Yeah.
They're just like receiving waves. Like we know that's a form of communication. I don't think that's like a thing that's like arguable. Like in another alien civilization, if they want to communicate besides using like their natural born shit, like it's gonna have to be through like an EM.
Yeah, because
EMS, whatever.
Because there's only a few ways to do it. Like you have to use it and or some other shit.
Like if you're in this universe, you're going to use
Yeah.
electromagnetic spectrum to like communicate distances, long distance, right?
People are like seriously looking for aliens though. That's crazy. Like their job is like my job. Yeah, I'm looking for aliens, dude. That's my job.
What do you do? I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
That's cool. I look for aliens all day. How's it been going? Nothing yet, bro.
I mean, you can't even give them flack for that. Like people have been trying for a long ass time.
Oh hell yeah.
The one way people are doing is like imagine it like if like eventually our civilization might reach a point where like we're using so much energy to the sun. Like imagine like a system where like we have so many solar panels around the sun where like the sun gets dimmer periodically. So if there's a civilization that powerful, their star would periodically get dimmer, and people are looking for that. Maybe they're just like there's civilizations out like that. Yeah.
People are looking for that specific
like stars that periodically get dimmer.
Interesting.
Why would it get dimmer or dimmer faster than uninhabited stars?
Well, like, so these would be like super advanced civilizations that like are so
they can actually harvest it.
So technologically advanced, they have like these solar harvesting systems around their star, and they would dim their star.
Oh, just like physically block the thing.
Physically block the light, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because to harvest the energy, you have to have some contraption around that star. Right now, we're just on the Earth, but you can imagine that we just build out around our star.
Oh, you're talking about like around the fucking okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's crazy.
That's the only reason I would want to live forever, just to see what humanity's up to in the future.
Yeah, I'd definitely be observant, not like a what's the opposite of observant? Like
be a participant. Yeah, I just want to see like, this is what humanity's up to 100,000 years from now. What about it doing this from now?
And I can fast forward, like, oh, it's boring. Yeah. Oh, breakthrough. Oh shit, wars. Oh shit, slow down. Yeah, that'd be sick. Well, I mean, if we can upload consciousness, bro, that would be basically that.
Maybe we'll just kill ourselves. Maybe that's also possible.
We'll just very likely.
Wait, how would it? I feel like it's hard to say. I mean, we survived for a while, right?
Yeah, we've been around
for I mean, depends what scale we're looking at.
Yeah.
From like
have been on this earth way longer than we have.
That is true.
Like not even way long. Like
they didn't have Club Penguin to upload their consciousness to, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think Kai and I were talking about this the other day. Rahul, do you think humans have like stopped evolving as a species, or are we?
Yeah, I think we've biologically stopped evolving.
There's no natural like.
Yeah, exactly. Selection.
Like everybody has kids now, right? Like if you.
Well, most
people, maybe not. Maybe I'll just be an incel for the rest of my life.
So there's no like selection force for it to.
Yeah.
You know what I think humanity's headed? Like if you look at like how nature's progressed so far, atoms come together, create molecules. Molecules come together, create biology. Cells come together, create multicellular organisms. What if multicellular organisms come together and create something? What if we're
hive or something?
Yeah,
collective consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. What if we're gonna become part of something huger or something? We're not even aware of it. Like the cell isn't aware as a part of a multicellular organism.
Yeah.
Well, cells can't be aware as far as we know, right? Or can they?
They are self-aware on some level. They know where they are. Like when there's neighbors, they know how to find food.
If there's a puncture in the cell wall.
Yeah. They're aware on some level.
But we also are aware like where we are in society, right? So society is just like that thing.
And so that idea or the question that Yue posited was from like Sapiens, or I got it from Sapiens, or I thought about it after reading Sapiens. But it's like basically the idea that like basically evolution was too slow to like change human behavior and human traits, and that like that we developed culture and like these shared realities or stories as a way to change behavior en masse. So when you think of like religion or you think of a country, that's like we can create massive change of behavior based on just this shared story. And that's a lot faster than like waiting fucking for Darwinism shit to like change behavior.
It's like ideology.
Yeah, so that's like the new evolution basically, is that like we have this shared story which then affects our daily lives and how we act and stuff like that.
Like, and we're also becoming connected more and more. Back in the day, like you couldn't talk to other people so fast. Like now we can connect to anybody. We can just talk to other people.
Yeah, you're on the other side of the country.
Yeah, and imagine one day if there's like Neuralink, like you're just always always in contact with other people. Like
it sounds bad to me, bro. Honestly,
yeah.
That does not sound utopian.
I'd be sick of everybody else, bro.
Yeah, it sounds bad to us, but probably they'll be used to it in the future.
Yeah.
Hope not, dude.
Even now, like there's some people that don't like don't like having phones, like because they feel too connected to other people.
Yeah.
In the sense that like it's kind of overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's even like a part of Community. Do you watch Community, or have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it though.
Me and Yue definitely like have watched a ton of Community, bonded over it. But there's just like this one scene, and again, this is like obviously not the best source that we've mentioned this podcast or anything. But like this old guy has like this earnoculars where he can hear things from like farther away, and then he like at the end of the episode he like puts it down. And then his friend Jeff is like, "Hey, what happened to your binoculars?" And he's like, "You know what, Jeff? People were only like made with like these physical limitations to hear, you know, this far around and see this far and touch things this far. And that's because that's like the only thing that matters. Like we were made to interact with and know about the stuff that's like in our immediate area."
Right.
And then there's like this like emotional part where it's like, because that's the people that matter. That's like who it is. But I think there is some truth to his sentiment that like, we weren't meant to know about some crazy thing that happened on the other side of the world and like actually care about it deeply and then like try to, you know, stick our hand in and intervene or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think there is some truth to like, we are definitely in the information age. And I don't think that's a good thing that it's not necessarily a good thing to have more information about what's happening, you know? Like, I don't want to know about every crime that's happening in the entire world right now, much less my city, much less, like, maybe neighborhood. Okay, I'd like to know every crime that happens in my neighborhood. But I think there is some limits to, like, maybe our brain can handle it, even though, obviously, like, biologically it wasn't made to handle it. So, like, even though there might be the capacity to understand or know about all this shit, I don't think it's necessarily, like, a good thing that we should strive for, you know?
Yeah, we get kind of overwhelming pretty fast.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, you can about hearing about this stuff, right?
You can what?
You can get stressed hearing about like bad things happening, like far away from.
For sure. And if we're more interconnected, then we're just like, and this is obviously more like, I guess, cynical, but like if you're more connected, you have more opportunities for intervention or like attacks, I guess. And like obviously we're seeing a lot of misinformation now, but like imagine if we're connected to everything, like I mean people are gonna use that for nefarious purposes for sure.
I feel like people will figure it out though. Like we've been like we
figure what out?
Like, you know how like a lot of our problems, you know what I mean? Like we'll come up with solutions to them. Like some smart people in the future.
And there'll be like newer problems.
Yeah, there'll be newer problems and shit.
Worse and shit.
Like global war. Like I feel like people will probably like work out like how to deal with global warming. People will probably figure out like if there is like
I think so, yeah.
If there's like AI that's like that seems that it's could be dangerous, people will probably figure out how to like work with that.
Yeah.
But we're in a weird place though. Like we're still apes and shit, you know. We're still like fucking savannah runners, hunter gatherers. Like biologically, we're no different. But we just have all this crazy technology. We have fucking nuclear weapons. We have fucking tanks and fighter planes. We're still angry at each other. We still like in tribal wars and shit. We just do it with like different technologies. Instead of a spear, we have like fucking tactical nuke.
Yeah.
Or maybe being more connected will make people more like empathetic.
Yeah, that'll definitely be what you hope for.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you think people are more empathetic now, even though we have more ways of interacting with each other than they were like, I don't know, 1900s, 1800s, whatever.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, back then you can't even know about this shit that happens nowadays, right? Like you don't even have the. Yeah.
Yeah, limited to your like actual geographic space. Yeah.
Whether like that, given the opportunity, someone from the 1600s will be more empathetic or less empathetic than the average person today.
Yeah.
It's pretty random and on a person by person basis.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the average would be more empathetic.
Yeah. Not even the general trend so far. I feel like, people are like compared to like 1860s US like slavery and shit. Like people are becoming. They're still not complete, but people are becoming more and more like understanding of the other side.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think like, I guess you guys have heard of like in-group bias, right? Maybe in-group bias.
Oh, no.
Okay. It's like you say yeah?
No.
Oh, okay. It's like a intro psych term, but basically it's just the idea that like we form these in groups and out groups in our brain of like who we consider part of us or not part of us. So we can think of like race as a really common in group bias, out group bias, or you can also think like, oh, I'm American, you're, Canadian, whatever the fuck. But we create these groups
it's like who you identify with.
Yeah, basically distinguish us from other groups. It's like a categorical thing too. But like I think this like interconnected stuff will help us like see that other people are just like us and like increase that in-group bias, include like hopefully all of humanity,
I think once we meet aliens, humans will be more connected because then it'll be like us versus them, not versus like them, all of humanity and like aliens.
It's actually justified to versus them at that point.
Yeah. I don't know, it's definitely interesting shit.
Another thing I've been thought about is like what civilization, like how this body of knowledge people are carrying. It's like everybody's adding to it, and like it's just being carried.
Yeah.
And like in like when the Europeans met the Native Americans, like they were biologically the same. They've been in the same land mass for the same amount of time. Like Europeans have been in Europe for like 10,000 years. Native Americans have been in Americas for like 10,000 years around that time. But like there's such vast differences in like everything.
And wait, what was that like supposed to lead to?
I don't know. It was just like that. It was just interesting. Yeah, I was just like, it's pretty crazy. Like
how the development was so different.
Yeah. Like why was it different and shit? I don't know.
I mean, they were playing on different parts of like the world, right? Playing.
Yeah.
They were like.
It's just a strategy game.
They were playing on different parts of the map.
I mean, that's all of it, though.
They didn't get.
Like they had to deal with their own like environmental situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is pretty different.
But yeah, and that's on the same fucking planet. And then we I think about when we go to a whole nother planet, whole nother solar system.
That'd be crazy.
Like, man, just think how wide of a range those developmental differences could be.
Another reason people think we might have not made contact with the aliens is because we might be the first ones. It's one of the first civilizations out there. And if that's the case, what if we're gonna be like the super like big dog aliens pulling up to other planets, like
colonizing and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I would rather be on that side than on the receiving.
Yeah, for sure.
Or actually, I don't know, if the big dogs are really kind, then we just get their tech for free.
Yeah, that would be. It's just like a buff.
It's like, oh, you guys are still fighting? Oh, just take this pill, dude. Just listen to this music. Oh shit! All right, cool. But
that would be so cool. That's like the one thing I wish I would run for. Just it's contact, like face-to-face contact.
That'd be really cool if that happened when we were alive.
Yeah.
That's definitely on a bucket list.
I feel like it's gonna happen though. It's definitely gonna happen.
In our lifetime?
Not in our lifetime, but it's gonna happen one day, probably.
Yeah.
Just won't be around.
I think so.
There's some people that think that might not ever happen because the distances involved are so large Like they just.
Well, Carl Sagan did something like that, right?
Yeah.
Some like, maybe it wasn't Sagan, but it was like some sort of like formula. Be like, okay, based on like how long it takes for us to like send a message, and like actual like lengths of distance between stars
You're
and
right.
planets.
Yeah.
Like there's like you can have a statistical formula like, okay, we should have been contacted on this time, where it's like more likely after 10,000 years, if we keep doing this, that we'll have had contact within this like range of space.
Yeah, there's like an equation for it.
Yeah, there's an equation for it.
Great equations and shit. But yeah, it's just such large distances. It might not even ever happen.
Yeah, the scale is like really unfathomable for us, honestly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I always
Or
imagine like a big scale. I try to imagine like walking it. If it's a distance trying to walk it, like how long would it take to walk?
You only walk to the sun real quick.
Yeah.
20 million years. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Or like a thing, I would be like, or like trying to imagine my head, but then things like, just quickly gets out of proportion because like the numbers itself becomes like
Right. Like,
dude, I think walking is a bad metric to go by.
walking is like
at least do a light jog, bro.
Yeah, light jog.
Shit, you gonna walk there?
Maybe
Fuck.
it's because I'm a New Yorker. I'm just like always walking everywhere.
That's definitely contextualized it. That's so funny.
Dude, the scales you're working with in New York is not applicable here.
Many orders of magnitude. You ever saw that video where it zooms out and zooms in? Like starts zooms all the fuck out. Yeah.
Zooms from like a person and then like zooms out and it's like a block of the city, the solar system.
Yeah.
That's just so cool.
Yeah.
There's a couple of games that are like that. Like it's like you start as like a microbe eating shit, and then like you get big enough, and then now you can like swallow like little animals, and you get big enough, you swallow like city blocks and shit.
Yeah.
It just zooms out and like a fucking galactical.
I think I played that one. I don't remember the name though.
Yeah.
Like in elementary school.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What time is it over there now? I don't even know what
Oh,
time
it's
it
kind
is
of late.
here.
It's 9:20 here, bro.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was looking at it like let's think about wrapping it up. We've obviously covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, that was a long journey, dude.
I thought it was gonna be like
already
1-2 hours max. Ended up being like 3.
Dude, it always ends up like this.
Facts. And maybe as I get better at being like a moderator, podcaster, I'll be better at like rallying the troops in to cut it off a little bit. But obviously we talked about a lot. I think just to end, one, so like we've talked about like you guys' journeys to where you are now, making this a little bit more our lifetime time frame. Where do you guys like see yourselves like in the near future, long future? Like what are your like long-term aspirations, goals? It doesn't have to be work or school or anything. It can just be like, in the future I can, does that make sense?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I guess realistically, I just want to graduate and
Every grad student ever.
I want to graduate and then find a job.
That's totally fine. Yeah, that's acceptable.
What kind of job it is, I'm still not sure yet. I think for my type of work, like academic institutions are probably most available.
Yeah.
Like
most
easy. I think like getting faculty positions is actually fairly difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to do some postdocs.
Yeah, postdocs as well. I don't know. Postdocs is it's like an unstable position, right? It's just like a stepping stone for most people.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a postdoc as an end goal. So I don't know. I don't want to set it as a goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, who knows?
Do you know what you want to work on?
Hmm?
Do you know what you'd want to work on?
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mostly the same type of stuff, I guess.
Damn, you have a wide imagination, bro.
Okay, I guess one general goal is to find I don't know. Like find something that I can really enjoy besides work.
Mm.
I feel
Like a
like
hobby.
that, like not maybe not even a hobby, just something I can look like I would not be, like work is not the only thing that happens in life.
Gotcha.
Like I feel
Yeah.
like these days, if work doesn't go well, then I just go into like a bad state. Just feels like nothing really matters if work doesn't go well.
Damn.
I feel like it's gonna go pretty well for you. Like,
You'll be fine.
yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I hopefully I can find something that kind of mitigates that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's definitely important. I mean, it's easier for some people that have like a wide range of interests. Like, I know a lot of people have like fucking like 80 side projects going on at one time, and it's like, sure, you can definitely take it to two extremes. Like, oh, I don't care about anything now. Like, I have so much shit going on. I've planned A through Z through Omega. Like, but I think it's definitely about like finding a balance and like if you don't want all your focus and energy and like heart, I guess, to be put into work, then I think it definitely makes sense to like search for something else that want to put a lot of time and effort into.
yeah.
What about you, Rahul? What's your
I don't know.
short near future?
Like I can't see
long term?
I can't see that long term. I know I just like I wanna. I don't know.
Are you gonna be in finance?
Like in the near future, I wanna try to at least. I promised myself that at least for the next 3 years, I'm gonna try to like make a career in finance or quantitative finance or even software engineering.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't know. In the future, I can see myself maybe in like teaching or something. Like
Yeah.
not in colleges, but like in high school or something. Because I did like teaching, but maybe making movies. I don't know. It's like
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like I feel like I'm just winging it at this point. But like I know like I can see short term like a few years from now, but I don't really know
A couple steps.
yeah, a couple
Yeah.
steps ahead.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. I realized something that I feel like if I after I graduate, if I don't do like some sort of research position, I'll be just like wasting my time now.
Yeah. Like it's like all that schooling down the drain,
And
Yeah.
why? Like why is it that if you have to do research now, you have to continue doing research as your job?
I mean, that's just how it seemed like in my mind. Like I feel like if I don't do research in the future, I'm just like, what the fuck am I even doing? Like I'm just wasting all my time doing this non-research stuff.
What if you
But
apply your like practical things, even if that's not your I don't know, like I don't know what like applying your research like solving like engineering problems or something.
yeah, I don't know. I guess that's yeah, that would be closer, but I would still feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Supposed to in what sense?
Supposed to be doing like the most optimal use of my preparations.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go through life going through what your most optimal use of time is.
Like what you trained for.
Like years of research, but then didn't use that afterwards. I feel like, man, that's not very optimal.
But isn't that what happens to like I know like in physics especially like 3% of PhD graduates in physics end up in faculty research positions. Like most end up in industry.
I see. Yeah, that's not. I mean, honestly, sounds like some good news.
Yeah. I mean, I ask this because it's like, I think it's easy for a lot of us, especially as we get older and more into the routine of different things, whether it's our like 9 to 5 or like our research or whatever, is to like focus on the next couple steps, like, oh, this conference, oh, graduating, and then finding, some position or finding like, if in the corporate world, like either going up or going sideways and going a different vertical. But like I think it's also like important every once in a while to think about like sort of like the slightly bigger picture, like where do I want to see myself going, not like just what the path is laid down for me ahead, you know?
Yeah, like for me, that's what I know. Like I know I want to be surrounded by family and friends. Maybe not family so much because I'm so distant now, but at least friends.
Yeah.
I know like that part of my life is kind of like lacking now because of like coronavirus, all alone here in Seattle. But in the future, hopefully, more friends and. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I don't really know.
Yeah. And then the very last thing I want to end on, is there any, and this is a very broad question, and I definitely no right answer, but is there any, like, it can be literally anything, like a book, a show, a song, I guess that would be the best one, but like, is there anything you would like recommend to like listeners to check out?
Oh shit.
And it could be a concept too, like, oh, you should really look into like, you know, neuroplasticity, whatever the fuck. This is just like a time to like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm trying to think of a movie.
yeah.
I don't know though.
You can take your time. I meant to bring this up in the pre-call, but so you could think about it a little bit more. Could be a game. Osu, if you want to shout out Osu Yue, go for it.
Osu gang. Man, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I feel like I often give advice that I don't follow.
That's fine.
I feel like it's a bit bad, but I really think it's good advice.
What is your advice?
Oh yeah, you can give advice too. You just have your recommendation.
I don't know. I guess
Oh,
one
no, go for it.
is just like whatever you want to do, you just do it. Like especially like stuff like work or things that you do mentally. It's really easy to just put it off by like procrastinating and like not just not thinking about it. But like once you start doing it for a bit, you realize like you really want to do it, and you just want to like get it done instead of like being in the mindset of like it's a bad thing to do or like it's not enjoyable. Because in the end, you still know you have to do it, so why not just do it? And just don't like try to motivate yourself because it's really really hard to do. But instead, just be mechanical, right? Just do the things that you know you have to do, like open your laptop or like download a file or just like open a PDF, right? Like just do the mechanical things that's easy. And like once you're in that environment and situation, the rest will just come from memory, like muscle memory. Just like, oh, I'm doing this now. Yeah. So like I just close all my procrastination stuff and start focusing on what I really need to do.
Yeah.
I need that advice in my life right now. Thank you.
Like the takeaway is like I'm terrible with this. Like I always like think about I need to be motivated to do work, but really the thing that happens is like as you work more and more, you start to become more motivated because you see the progress you've made, and like you feel good by making a little bit of progress, like every hour or every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I guess that's my to anyone struggling with this.
Yeah.
My advice is don't do drugs, kids. Just except if it's DMT.
That works too.
There you go.
Yeah. And then mine, I'll do mine. I wasn't sure. I was like, should I just ask my guest or should I like have one myself? And it's more just like a book recommendation than like advice or anything. But Start With Why by Simon Sinek is a really good book. But it's basically, he just goes around like, so it's the idea that a lot of people's personal narratives and lives sort of formulate over this sort of why, which is built from like your core values, your principles, your like priorities in life. And that the better that you can like understand what your own why is, and sort of it's more of like a discovery than like a creation thing. and the better you can like discover your why and why basically the thing that drives everything you do, whether it is work, outside of work, just like sort of this really underlying meta. The better you can understand that, like the more impactful you'll be in getting that why like into fruition. And then also just the sort of more driven and motivated you'll be doing the things you're doing. And you can always use that as sort of like a basis. Like, does this action or just this like job, is it in resonance, you know, with my why and stuff like that. And then the book goes in more details about like, okay, there's like, he describes this like a why, and then there's a how in terms of like the process and actions to take your why into like actual things into a real world, and then that's your what's is like the products of that.
Wait, what's
so
it called? It's
start with why.
oh shit.
I have it. I think I lent it to a friend, but you can be the next friend that I lend it to.
Gotcha. You're never getting it back, man.
It's fine. It's like a $10 book. Yeah. So yeah, that's my recommendation, advice, whatever.
Yeah, I resonate with that. I feel like I've used that in some parts of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely solid. Definitely easy read. Lots of examples, which are super helpful, and those types of like personal help, self-development, career type books.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Yue and Rahul, for coming on the first podcast. Went a little long, but I didn't really have a time box, so hopefully it didn't interrupt your guys' lives too much. And yeah, that was Journeys with Kai.
Peace.
Cool.
Cool.